This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Jones looks left initially, throws that way to Warren inside the 5, stretching for the pylon. Touchdown! Tyler Warren, his first receiving score in the NFL. Tyler Warren puts 6 on the board for the Colts and a spike job to boot. A.J. Cole on to punt in his 7th year out of NC State. So far this year, he ranks 6th in average at 51.2, and it's blocked. The ball is available around the 10-yard line. There's a mad dash for it. A scramble inside the 10. Shegu Alubi blocks the punt. Under center goes Jones, and they give it to Taylor, sweeping out. He's around the 5, crashes in, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor. Geno Smith takes a shotgun snap, great protection, dancing in the pocket, throws it up into the air. The ball is batted in the air, and it's tipped and intercepted by Laiatu Latu, his 2nd interception this season. Jones backs to pass, late blitz. Jones flushed out of the pocket right, throws into the end zone. Yes, touchdown, Michael Pittman Jr. What a catch. Jonathan Taylor makes a man miss in the backfield and scoots to his right into the end zone. Geno Smith throws upfield, is picked off by the Colts. Mekhi Blackman down the far sideline. Out of the gun goes Jones, sweeping left. Taylor cuts back at the 5 into the end zone. He dances in again. 3 of them today. 3 touchdowns for Jonathan Taylor.
I thought it was great complimentary football, back and forth, all 3 phases. All things take time, you know what I mean? I think as you're building a program, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and I think, we got some new faces in here. I think Chris has done a hell of a job with that. Daniel's playing at a high level, and guys are just believing in each other and believing in the process of what we're doing, and, it's been really good.
I think it's a huge testament to our guys, to everybody, to the locker room, the coaches, and, having a strong first half and getting out to a big lead, and then coming out in the second half, there's no let up. Guys are still hungry and ready to go.
Could we respond to the game we had against the Rams? Could we go out there and try to put our best effort on tape? And I was proud of the effort we put out today.
The Indianapolis Colts are 4-1, and if you look at the conference standings right now in the National Football League, the Colts are on the top of the leaderboard in the AFC. So welcome in to another Victory Monday. They've won 4 of their last 5. They're cruising. They put up 40 points on the board. Good morning, Kevin Bowen. Good morning, James Boyd. Good morning, Mark Dykton. It was a good weekend for the Indianapolis Colts. Things are coming up roses right now. So you take the 40 points, you put them in your pocket, and you move along, you get ready for next week. But we got a lot to celebrate, a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. Kevin Bowen, what was your biggest takeaway from a dominant home win yesterday?
Well, I would say just in terms of the game, the Colts absolutely owned the red zone. That was the difference in the game. They were 6 of 6 in the red zone, and the Raiders were 0 for 4. So literally the 10 times you got in the red zone yesterday, the Colts were a perfect 10 of 10 offense and defensively, and that's been a question offensively this season. In terms of like big picture, 5 weeks in, it's wildly impressive. They continue to beat the you-know-what out of NFL teams, and I say that plurally. I think I shared this 2 weeks ago when it was the Titans, but it certainly applies again today with the Raiders. You look at it through 5 weeks, they have won 3 games by at least 20 points. They did not win a single game by 20 points or more in the 2024 season, the 2023 season, or the 2022 season.
Wow. And
they've done it 3 times in 5 weeks. It's wildly impressive. And yeah, I mean, when you said that to lead off the show, and the Buffalo Bills did lose last night for those curious, so undefeated's no longer in the NFL. The fact that the Colts are atop the AFC sitting here on October 6th, insane.
Not only are they 3-0 in conference play, James Boyd, but they lead the league by a wide margin. Only 5 games in. We're not quite a third of the way in. That'll happen about the end of the third quarter this coming week. But they've scored – they're a plus 74 in 5 games right now.
Which is just insane. I mean – you can say, okay, well, the 3 teams they've blown out are not good. I believe they have a combined record of 3-12. But what do you do to not good teams? You beat them into the ground. You beat them into a pulp. And I think that's what you saw yesterday against the Raiders. And so when you look at how the players reacted after the game, I thought some of the things they said were pretty revealing. You had Braden Smith, who I just caught him walking out of the locker room. I was like, hey, I haven't talked to Braden Smith in a while. Let me just, see how he's doing and see what he thinks of this team after being here for so many years. And at first he was like, oh, yeah, we're so egoless. We're all together. And then he took a pause and he was like, we're tired of being mediocre. And I was like, oh, there's the money quote for you and how this team is feeling and their new mindset, new standard that they have around this franchise. And then you ask Zaire Franklin, and I want to get this quote in nice and early in the show for those who may not be able to stick around for the rest of it. He said this, and I thought this was very telling, Kevin. Respectfully, I feel like we gave the Rams too much credit. I think after we played LA, we realized we're that team. We're the team that's a test for everybody else. And I was like, wow. And so he was talking, big game after another dominating victory in which, the only real issue you have with that game is the injury to Spencer Schrader, the kicker, who last month was AFC South Special Teams Player of the Month. And so AFC Special Teams Player of the Month. So you worry about that. But beyond that, man, just an all-out dominant victory.
Well, the Colts are now 4-1, and they are rolling through the first 5 games of the season. But let's talk a little bit more about the quarterback, Daniel Jones. Not spectacular yesterday, but really solid. And again, they turned turnovers into points, and the red zone turned into points. And I think right now, to your point at the top of the show, Kevin Bowen, you give the Colts a chance, they're going to put points up on the board against you, this particular team right now. If you turn it over anywhere near your side of the field or even in midfield, they're going to get at least 3, and they're getting better and better at putting up touchdowns as we go along.
I would argue he was spectacular in leading that offense. I get that maybe
just the stats themselves not spectacular.
I get maybe the raw fantasy numbers won't be as high as some other quarterbacks put up over the course of the year, but the Colts' franchise record and third down percentage, I just went over the red zone stuff a few minutes ago. Hell, they also, I think, tied a franchise record of 6 straight drives with a touchdown. That's your quarterback leading that unit. And again, there are other guys that obviously played into that, but another game where name me a Daniel Jones negative play from yesterday.
Can't.
Name me a should have been negative play. Was there a dropped interception? Was there, none of that. I honestly
didn't get sacked either. So shout out to the offensive line.
Right. When I say negatives, I mean sacks and interceptions. And honestly, I thought he had his best play as a Colt from a highlight reel standpoint on the touchdown to Michael Pittman Jr. I thought that was
a dime.
That was a moment in the game where, they played. I don't want to act like they were playing with fire there, but as he starts to roll to his right, the Colts have no timeouts there, less than 20 seconds to go in the first half. If you are to take a sack, you could be running into one of those fire drill situations of like, oh boy, are you getting your field goal unit on the field? Can you spike it in time? What's that going to look like? It could have been really kind of an ugly end of the first half, and yet he rolls to his right, avoids the pressure, still has the poise and the velocity. I thought he just rifled one into Michael Pittman Jr. in the back of the end zone. And that is what separates quarterbacks. That is a play in the red zone that is either a 7-point play or a 3-point play. And he turned that into a 7-point play. And again, this year, the Colts have had struggles in the red zone. So I thought like Jones's day deserved that. Because to your point, Jeff, I can get where you're coming from. And you're like, yeah, I wasn't like individually as spectacular, whatever, 330 and 3 touchdowns, whatever you want to throw out there for labels. But when the offense clicks like it did, and then you have that play on top, just another outstanding day from him.
Well, you'll take all of it. You'll take it. You'll put it in your back pocket, as I like to say, and you'll head right on down the road. But look, as well as the Colts played, and they are playing as well offensively, and they started to get play on defense too. We talked about Latu getting the interception, but they were putting some pressure on the quarterback for again, it's been a couple of weeks in a row now, James.
Absolutely, and the Raiders stink. I reminded my father of that, who is a Raiders fan. He was
several times, I'm sure.
Yes. He talked a lot of trash, like his son did a few weeks ago with IU Illinois. So, like father, like son, and he found out the hard way that this team is serious. That team being the Colts, and so you look at the Raiders. Yeah, you had turnovers with Geno Smith. He came into the league leading the NFL. Came into the season. Came into the game leading the league in turnovers or interceptions with 7, and he threw another 2 interceptions yesterday, got sacked, never felt comfortable, and they just couldn't get out of their own way in certain instances, but also a lot of that had to do with the Colts. And you look at the interception for Latu, that doesn't happen if Grover Stewart doesn't get the tip. You look at, their offensive onslaught, maybe that doesn't happen if Segun Alubi doesn't get the blocked punt to kind of spark, some of that action. And so when you look at just the overall dominance, again, there's nothing to really complain about other than the fact that you're hoping that Spencer Schrader is, able to come back sooner rather than later. Although Coach Shane Steichen said after the game, it did not look good. And for those of us who watched the game, it certainly didn't look that good either.
And we'll talk a little bit more about that coming up in a moment here. But the Colts are now 4-1, and we are, as I said, coming up on the 1/3 of the way through the season once we get to just late into the third quarter on the next game, and we'll tell you all about that. But we'll celebrate, bathe in, wallow in this victory, and a 4-1 start for the Colts all morning long right here at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Good morning, Up and Adam. We are ready to roll here on a Victory Monday for the Indianapolis Colts, who dominated start to finish against the Raiders yesterday over at Lucas Oil Stadium. James Boyd, final score was 40-6. Daniel Jones, on a really, really efficient and impressive day, 20 of 29, 212 yards, 2 touchdowns. JT had 66 yards and 3 touchdowns, but how about a blocked punt, 2 interceptions? Everybody was getting in on the act yesterday.
Yeah, even Amir Abdullah, the running back who was called up from the practice squad for Sunday's game, got in the end zone, only his 9th rushing touchdown in his 10-year NFL career. So, like you said, Jeff, everyone was having a great time yesterday, and rightfully so, after another beatdown, their 3rd victory by at least 21 points this season.
One negative right now, the health status of kicker Spencer Schrader. Kevin Bowen, what happened and what do we know right now?
Yeah, and also let's keep an eye on Grover Stewart's bicep. Anytime you hear bicep, I get a little nervous for big dudes, and Grover Stewart, we don't need to go over the stats when he was on the field versus off the field a few years ago, but he means a ton to this football team. So that was the other, I thought, notable injury.
Mike Hilton, by the way.
Yeah, Grover to me mean a little more than
I was just mentioning
Mike
like injuries and stuff like that. Those are piling up in that cornerback room as well.
The Schrader play, I don't know. It seemed a hair dirty to me. I don't know by letter of the law if it was dirty or not. Maybe I'm being a little bit too critical there. I just didn't love the look of it there. I get the Raiders have had some block issues. They did clearly in the game yesterday, so maybe they were trying to make a play. But, it looked really bad. I mean, immediately you see the entire team come out there, and I know he did gingerly limp walk off the field, but none of it looked good. I kind of wanted to see Sanchez just kick one later in the game just to practice what an emergency situation could look like. Drew Ogletree would have been the snapper. Luke Rhodes, ironically, would have been the holder. Part of me thought, could you have Josh Downs hold and keep everybody, the rest of the operation, Luke Rhodes as the snapper, in place there. But yeah, it just looked awful. And so we'll see if there's an update on that today, and if the Colts are going to have, or how early in the week they're going to have the big kicker tryout that seemingly every NFL team has at some point in the season.
Well, the Colts are now 3-0 in the AFC. They have the greatest win or the greatest point differential on the positive side, over 70 points. There's only 2 other teams in the league over 40 points. So right now, things looking up for the Colts. They are 4-1. We'll talk about where they head next in a few minutes. We can also tell you in the rest of the AFC, particularly, how about the Houston Texans? They were all over the Baltimore Ravens 44-10. JB, are the Texans starting to find their groove, or are the Ravens just that bad?
I think the Ravens are dead, honestly. 1-4. You have an injured Lamar Jackson. Their season seems cooked, and their defense is just god-awful. So, yeah, all that talk about how the Ravens used to be defensively is out of the window. They have been very bad on defense in recent years, and it's showing up in the worst way this year. So perhaps the Texans got their mojo back, but they beat a bad Raiders team. Not Raiders team, but Ravens team.
Also, the Tennessee Titans get their first win of the year. They had 16 unanswered points in the fourth quarter on the road against the Arizona Cardinals. They win at 22-21. Didn't see that one coming at the end of the third quarter for that game. Man,
that
Devin.
To me is one of the worst losses I've ever seen, perhaps the worst loss. They had the A.D. Mitchell fumble on the goal line. They had one of the craziest interception fumbles for a touchdown I've ever seen. Kyler Murray, sounds like his foot is a bit iffy coming out of that game. He did miss a couple of snaps, so that would mean Jacoby Brissett in this building on Sunday against his former team if Kyler cannot go. So that was absolutely horrific. That was one of the worst fourth quarter collapses you will ever see by the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. It was honestly very impressive to watch how much of a collapse it was.
Had they scored on that run, I hope I'm saying his name right, Amari DiMercado.
DiMercado.
Should have been a 72-yard touchdown that put his team up 28-6, drops the ball through the end zone. They come back and lose in epic fashion. So I know people were like, one of his teammates was defending him. Oh, I don't want people giving him looks. Give him all the looks. You are the dumbest player in the NFL. Congratulations.
A week after A.D. Mitchell, it should have been beaten into everyone's head.
That's what I'm saying.
As soon as he started jogging at the 20, I said, oh my gosh, something's about to happen. Like either Snead's going to catch up and
he was trying to hit it,
from behind, or I just had vivid flashbacks, and sure enough, bam.
All right, later on tonight, the other member of the AFC South gets underway in Monday Night Football. The 3-1 Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. All of a sudden, it's looking like Jaguars and Colts be racing each other all season long. We'll keep an eye on that one for you. Major League Baseball yesterday. Cubs were off, Mark, so that was good for you, right? You got to watch some football, hang out with the family?
Yeah. They play today. Oh, it's a late one, too. 9:08 is the first pitch. My God, it's going to be a late one.
Yesterday, there were 2 games. The Blue Jays.
Did the Cubs play over the weekend? I missed it, Jeff. Did they play at all?
Kevin, you're Mr. Cub. What are you talking about? Did the Reds play? Oh, no, that's right. They
Just
did.
want to make sure it's busy Saturday, beautiful Saturday.
All the pressure is on the Brewers. The Cubs got to celebrate. It's all the pressure on the Brewers.
I didn't know why Jeff just overlooked that.
We're getting to what we have later on today.
Okay.
But I'm going to tell you about the games that happened yesterday. The Blue Jays, for the second game in a row, put up double-digit runs against the Yankees. They win 13-7, lead that series 2-0. Mariners and Tigers are all even at 1 after the Mariners got a 3-2 victory yesterday. Now, as far as today, the Cubs and the Brewers play their second game of their series. And yes, how do you explain that first appearance?
I think it was a brilliant move by Craig Counsell to let the Brewers get a big head and get excited. Make them feel good. A lot of the pressure's on them, the big home game. So you're like, you know what? We're going to trot out Matthew Boyd on 3 days rest. We'll only pitch him 2/3 of an inning, and then we'll have him ready for Game 4 or Game 5 if we need him. So, yeah, that's fine. Totally fine. I was able to enjoy the rest of my day. I was like, okay, get this first inning out of the way, and now, boom, ready for Game 2 tonight. We reset. We take care of business.
Sounds like you're talking yourself into something. The Brewers.
I'm just glad my team is still in the playoffs.
It's one of the wildest.
Unlike everyone else in this room.
It's one of the wildest spin cycles I've ever heard.
Oh, Kevin,
dear Lord,
stick
Mark.
it with your Reds team that didn't even show up for one game.
Sounds like you complaining about the refs when the Bears gave up 50 earlier this year.
Boy, I hear a lot of bitching and moaning from the guy who couldn't even get in the garage this morning.
Oh, wow. By the way, the Brewers lead that best-of-5 series in this divisional round, 1-0. Also tonight, the Dodgers taking on the Philadelphia Phillies. In what world are the Dodgers and Phillies playing at 6:08 Eastern, and the Cubs and Brewers are playing at 9:08?
I don't know. I don't get it at all. 9:08 first pitch, my goodness.
It'd be 3 o'clock in the afternoon on the West Coast for these teams.
What a life.
Man, oh man, oh man. All right, college football, in case you missed it over the weekend. I thought Purdue acquitted themselves fairly well at Ross-Ade. Yeah, they lost by 16 to Illinois, 43-27. But this is not, hey, last year's Purdue team was losing 66-0 to teams. You got Jake Browning going over. I mean, he had a huge day on Saturday, 302 yards, 30-50 with a touchdown. They racked up 453 yards against Illinois. Purdue's starting to become a little competitive, Kevin. I'll take it.
Todd Meyer, I love you, but, brother, take that L.
Wow. Oh, all right.
I need Jeff Ricker grading my papers.
No, it's on a curve. That's what it is.
They were a 8-point underdog, something like that.
Did you see Purdue last year?
Well, sure. I mean, it couldn't get any worse.
Purdue would have finished 17th in the 16-team Division 1A playoffs last year. Let's go.
I was hoping for a little bit more of a competitive four-quarter effort than what they showed on Saturday.
Notre Dame, ranked 21. They were in control over Boise State. We're turning them over all day long. They win at 28-7, forced 4 interceptions on the day, and Jeremiah Love ran for 103 yards and a touchdown. You don't like that one either? 21-point win?
A little sloppy early, but we'll take another 20-point victory. And yes, a lot of help for the Irish. James Franklin might have another appearance on the show here later today. Penn State, absolutely horrific. Texas losing to Florida. A little bit of chaos. I'd love to see College Game Day out in Eugene. I think that Texas loss took that away from the Red River Shootout. So College Game Day, it's crazy. It seems like, fourth time in like 14 games that they are traveling to see Indiana play football. So what is it, 7-2? What's Oregon's ranking? 2, 3?
3. Something
like that in the new poll?
7-3.
So that is what we'll get 3:30 Saturday out in Eugene, and College Game Day will be there.
We're looking forward to that one right there. And, of course, Purdue will follow this one up with a road game at Minnesota. We'll also tell you in the WNBA, the Aces are up 2-0 in their best-of-7 WNBA Finals series. Got a 91-78 win over the Mercury. Of course, Asia Wilson, 28 points, 14 rebounds. But Jackie Young setting WNBA records. The Indiana native had 32 points overall, but 21 in the decisive third quarter. That is a league record for 1 point and a quarter there in the finals.
She's balling, and she's been doing that for a long time. She is, I believe, the only player in Indiana high school basketball history to score over 3,000 points, the all-time leading scorer, whether it's boys or girls. Shout out to the former Princeton star.
All right, and Shane Van Ginsbergen, thank you very much. Got a win in NASCAR. That was at the Charlotte Motor Speedway on the road course. And the NASCAR season continues to roll on there in the playoffs.
NASCAR season never ends. It just
keeps
going and going and going.
Yeah. One other note that we do need to talk about a little bit today. Former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez arrested on multiple charges after being hospitalized following an incident early Saturday morning, right just 2 blocks from us in downtown Indianapolis. 38-year-old Sanchez arrested at a local hospital on suspicion of battery with injury, unlawful entry of a motor vehicle, and public intoxication. Those are all misdemeanors. It could be upgraded a little bit later on today from what we hear. James, you have to go cover this at the courthouse later on today, right? Is that what you're saying? You're saying you may have to go over there?
We'll see what my job entails.
All right.
But, yeah, it was not a good weekend for Mr. Sanchez.
We'll let you know how that all breaks out. And one note, wild game. Did you guys check out Lawrence North and Warren Central on Friday night?
Yeah, I didn't check it out. I was at a Colts event. Shout out to Kalen Jackson and the rest of that crew for doing their annual Kicking the Stigma event, which raises a ton of money for that initiative. But, yeah, me and Stephen Holder were checking the score, and just a crazy game.
Basketball score, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
63-48. It was a comeback win, but Xavier Moore, all he did is run for 309 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, one of the best running backs in the state, obviously, and one of the best players in the country, I would argue.
All right, that's what's happening in the world of sports. Coming up in a minute, we'll start to dive deeper on the Colts' 40-point outburst in a win against the
Pacers have their preseason opener tomorrow. We should mention that as well. That's 8 o'clock. You will be able to watch that. I know preseason games, typically, they haven't aired here on FanDuel, Bally, so I believe it'll be the Minnesota broadcast crew, not Michael Grady. Was trading text with Grady yesterday. I was like, wait, are you on the call for tomorrow? No, it'll actually be their radio crew on the call. But 8 o'clock tomorrow, you can hear that, of course, on our airwaves. But Pacers, T-Wolves, first preseason game coming up tomorrow.
All right, we'll talk about Colts next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. We're rolling to a 40-6 victory over at Lucas Oil Stadium against the Raiders, who, granted, are not a very good team. But to your point earlier, James Boyd, what do you do with bad teams when you're a good team?
Yeah, beat the brakes off of them.
And they did, 40-6 yesterday. Talked about your first big impression, Kevin Bowen, of that victory. But, like, when you start to go back and look at this one, the Colts, they're pretty good just about everywhere. Where do they start saying, okay, this was great, guys, but we got to start shoring this up right now? Because they were getting some pressure. They were forcing turnovers. They're blocking punts on special teams. Man, they played really well just about everywhere you look yesterday.
Yeah, it's kind of wild when you look back at the game, like from a yardage standpoint, it wasn't as big of a discrepancy as you see on the scoreboard. Like 40-6 obviously speaks for itself. It's the biggest win in 12 years for the Colts. But like yardage-wise, it's kind of close. Penalties wasn't that different. Go back to the red zone, guys. 10 red zone drives. 6 for the Colts, 4 for the Raiders. The Colts are a perfect 6 of 6. And we've talked about the red zone issues for this team. Mm-hmm. The Raiders are 0 for 4. So if you want to do the red zone math, 7 instead of 3, that's 4 points, right? Differential. Well, 10 red zone drives times 4 is 40. And if you look at the final margin, nearly 40 points. So, I mean, you could boil everything down to what happened there in the red zone. I do want to make sure, because I don't think we'll maybe touch on this play a lot over the course of 3 hours. I thought one of the best individual plays of the game in a sneaky play, and honestly, we kind of forget, the Colts were down 3-0 at this point of the game, early second quarter. Josh Downs catches the ball on 3rd and 12, I don't know, 5 yards short of the sticks, and he breaks not 1, not 2, but 3 tackles to turn what was a check down, likely settling for a Spencer Schrader field goal play into a, I'm going to go make yards after catch. I'm the smallest guy on the field. I'm breaking 3 tackles here. Now the drive extends, and what happens after that? You obviously, eventually, after Tyler Warren's, I think, nice throwaway, you get into the end zone. Thank you to Tyler Warren as the pass catcher there. I thought that was just one of the plays of the game. And, again, it might not show up as the Shagun Alubi, block punt, or, the Latu interception, or even Daniel Jones finding Michael Pittman Jr. in the back of the end zone. But I thought that play from Downs was just so deserving, too, because Downs has had a bit of a quiet start to the season, and I don't think any of it is due to a lack of, great play from him.
Yeah, I would agree on all that. And honestly, you talked earlier before we got on the air, KB, about the snap share and the fact that you saw Ashton Dulin on the field a lot yesterday. Josh Downs on the field all day long. Who you didn't see at all, really, was A.D. Mitchell till the very, very end. And I don't know. Maybe we got our answer into how Shane Steichen wants to deal with him, at least in the immediate moving forward.
At 9 o'clock, Ashton Dulin going to join us, by the way. Certainly a Colt player that wore
the Malone product.
The Malone product. Do they play football at Malone anymore?
No, they dissolved the program, so he's the only player from his school, I believe, to make it to the NFL.
Go out on top, Ashton.
He is one of one.
That's what Malone said after that. Yes, A.D. Mitchell was punished, and he was punished by being benched. I'd be curious if he would have dressed had Alec Pierce been healthy. But that setback on Friday, I think, kind of forced the Colts' hand and okay, we need to dress him. But as you saw, they gave Ashton Dulin all of those reps. It was pretty wild to watch Dulin return that kickoff, some whatever it was, 100 yards. And at that moment, how many times do you see dudes just come to the sideline gasping for the oxygen tank?
Yeah.
And Ashton Dulin just runs right back to the offensive huddle. I mean, A.D. Mitchell, I'm looking down during the game. A.D. Mitchell's not even wearing his helmet half the time. There's no better indicator that you're not going into the game when it matters than that. Usually you at least have your helmet on, because all it takes is one little equipment issue and you're in the game.
Yeah.
And A.D. Mitchell just, helmet on the hip, and he did not play first, second, or third quarter there. So, yes, the punishment from Shane Steichen was clearly there, in that he wanted to send a further message to A.D. Mitchell. And I thought it was really cool that Ashton Dulin got rewarded for that. And, I kind of thought to myself at the end of the game, all right, who should we get on the show for Monday? And I get we probably could have tried to get a bigger name. But to me, Dulin deserves it. He does so many things that this coaching staff absolutely adores for him. And I don't know if his stat line was necessarily the greatest yesterday. 2 catches, 55 yards, had the big defensive pass interference penalty. Should have had the kick return for a touchdown. I hope Ashton Dulin got a game ball because I think he deserved it for stepping up.
It was a lot of fun. Did I see, was it just me? I feel like it was a fever dream at some point in time. Did Anthony Richardson catch a pass yesterday?
Yes, his first pass attempt of the season, I believe, was a completion to himself after it got tipped in the air. And then, in the most Anthony Richardson fashion, he catches the ball and then gets pushed and dragged for another 3 or 4 yards there. So that was such a weird play. And also, fittingly or unsurprisingly, the one real throw he makes down the field was supposed to be to A.D. Mitchell, but of course, they're not on the same page. And I saw A.D. Mitchell go to the sideline and kind of try to explain himself to Reggie Wayne, who looked completely uninterested in hearing what he had to say at the moment. So you get your opportunity, and again, it kind of reminded me of what happened a lot last year, Kevin. Not on the same page, and none of us were surprised at how that play kind of unfolded.
Yeah, and I was tagged in something. Reggie actually tweeted after the game about that play. I think somebody maybe tagged Reggie in response to my tweet saying that, and Reggie responded like, "You don't know what you're talking about." So who knows? But yes, to your point, clearly those two were not on the same page.
I mean, well, I'll say this, and I'm not making this up. I looked through my binoculars. A.D. Mitchell walks over to him. He's saying something, and Reggie just waves his hand at him like, "Get out of my face."
Yeah, this guy was that was all on AD based on the action Reggie had out after the play, and AD was walking back to the sidelines. Reggie Wayne responded on Twitter, "You have no idea what you're talking about. Dead wrong," in all caps.
Yeah, he's defending his guy, but I mean, how would you interpret someone just taking their arm and saying, get out of here? Yeah. It is what it is. Doesn't matter, though. You win by 34, you can go back to the drawing board, feel a little better about how things unfolded.
Well, we're talking about little tiny details, too. They were talking about this in the broadcast yesterday. Is Tyler Warren left-handed? He threw a pass. It was left-handed. Apparently, he's left-handed.
Yeah, we knew that.
I didn't know that.
Draft. But, yeah, he's a lefty. I did get a kick out of this. Kevin, this guy, Tyler shows like no emotion. The spike we saw, I mean, it might as well have been him like moonwalking out there after a touchdown, right? So after the game, Stephen Holder, who we have on these airwaves all the time from ESPN, he's joking with Tyler, but I don't think Tyler really caught the joke. He goes, "Yeah, you were throwing that away, right?" And he looks at him. He's like, "Hey, man, the pass wasn't that bad." And I was like, "Oh, man." I was like, let me get a little fire from Tyler Warren here after his, big day. And he just continues to have these moments where you realize, okay, you are such a big piece of this offense. And, yeah, that pass didn't work out, whatever. But you know what happened on the next play? They went right back to him the more traditional way, and he found the end zone. So 4 catches, I believe, yesterday, 44 yards, and he just continues to move those chains and have these big performances week in and week out.
And again, his first game as a pro, it was clear NFL teams are already starting to respect him immensely. And it might have been kind of a little thing yesterday, but Jonathan Taylor's best run yesterday, I mean, the Colts struggled to run the ball up the middle. They struggled to run the ball in between the tackles. The best run was the fake fullback dive to Warren. The Raiders clearly try and stop that on a short yardage play. Boom, you pitch it to Taylor on the perimeter, and he takes it down the left side for, I think it was like 15 or 16 yards. Again, that is what Tyler Warren brings to the table. And, I think a lot of the Josh Downs production that he got yesterday was, they were starting to see more and more of Warren over the middle, more and more of that. All right, we got to stop 84. And then, boom, Josh Downs just finds his way into all these little zone windows and is able to have a really, really strong day. So, yeah, Tyler Warren, it goes without saying what he's done so far, but I think the Colts are starting to throw more and more wrinkles off of that attention towards him, even if the left-handed pass didn't work yesterday.
It's the Fan Morning Show, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan with Kevin Bowen, James Boyd. I'm Jeff Rickard, Mark Dykton on the other side. Can we also talk a little bit about Michael Pittman Jr.? 5 catches, 39 yards, a touchdown. He is a load for a defense to bring down when he gets that little 8-9 yard pass kind of up the seam or over the middle, and it seems like it takes James 3-4 guys to finally stop momentum and get that guy down.
Yeah, he's having a really great year, and obviously fully healthy from last year, dealing with the fractured back. And I want to say he's on pace right now, Kevin, to have a career high in touchdowns. I want to say that's 4 on the year for Michael Pittman Jr. I believe 6 is his career high for a season. So he is loving the QB change if you ask him.
Yeah, there's no question that.
And again, that's not a shot at AR. He wasn't against him or anything like that. But, when the guy finds you in the back of the end zone, you probably like that quarterback.
I think everybody's got to like Daniel Jones at this point in time. And there's an article this morning in the Indy Star about maybe the Colts and not Andrew Luck, but the Colts and Daniel Jones. They've found each other, Kevin. I know it's 5 games. It's still a relatively small sample size, but it's starting to look pretty consistent at this point in time.
Very, very consistent. And, again, Jones yesterday, I thought just that play to Pittman was such a that's a difference-making play from a quarterback. I mean, that is a play that, again, you're rolling out to your right, and all of a sudden he feels this pressure to have the poise to stay with that play. I mean, that's a play with no timeouts. I wouldn't have discredited him at all for just throwing that ball out of the back of the end zone and survive the down, try to regroup, maybe get another shot or two at the end zone. But not only does he have the poise to stay with the play, for him to rifle that one to Michael Pittman Jr., that to me is kind of the Jones highlight of the year so far through 5 games. And he continues to be beyond steady. Steady is such like a sad term to use, but I want that to sound like more of a compliment than it probably is sounding like, because the Colts offensive operation, and I thought yesterday after kind of a slow start, you have the 3-and-out early and it's your first scoreless, opening quarter of the season. And then, bam, 6 straight touchdown drives after that. Ties a franchise record. I mean, it's just wild, the offensive production that they continue to have. And on a day when you are down, you're home run hitter, and you're asking a guy like Ashton Dulin to take on a huge offensive role after, still playing the special teams reps that he is playing. And we should mention, too, offensively, just a really great job on Max Crosby. I know he had the tackle for loss on the second play of the game when he beat Braden Smith. He had 1 ball batted down, and I want to say that was it. I think he maybe had 1 quarterback hit. So 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback hit, 1 pass deflection. That is when you're playing the Raiders, that is a dream for an opponent to limit Max Crosby like that. So Braden Smith, Matt Gonzalez, the slew of tight ends they used on him, Daniel Jones and Shane Steichen making sure to stay away from Crosby as best they could. Great job on a game wrecker, because, again, a week ago, we saw a game wrecker in Puka Nacua wreck the game. This week, you see a game wrecker in Max Crosby have really little impact for him.
Yeah, like you said, coming off of last week's game, just have the star player be a little bit less than a star, and you're okay. Don't have them have an all-time great day.
Well, the Colts improved to 4-1, and again, you can talk about whether or not they're playing the best teams in the world, but to the overall point this morning, what do you do with bad teams? As you've been pointing out, James, you beat the brakes off them, and that's exactly what the Indianapolis Colts have been doing. And they just, more than anything, guys, really through 5 games and the 2 AD mistakes last week, the penalty and the dropping the ball at the goal line, they haven't made huge mistakes this year, Kevin. And those two that they made did cost them the 1 game, but for the most part, they look beyond competent right now.
Well, and I thought yesterday they got back into being in all those 3rd and manageables, all those 3rd and shorts. I know Downs had the 3rd and 12 that they picked up, but James, they were 8 of 10 on 3rd down, which is just an insane.
It's like a great free throw percentage ratio,
right there. Right. And I would argue of those 8 conversions, I'd say the vast majority were 3rd and shorts. Yeah. And that's exactly what they did those first couple weeks of the season. The Rams game, way behind the sticks. Yesterday, they stayed.
Oh, I do have one issue, though, I want to point out from yesterday.
Way ahead of it. What is that?
So, first of all, Mekhi Blackman, according to Zaire Franklin, who is joking, stole his interception. If you watch the playback, I thought Zaire was about to make a nasty one-handed pick, and then Mekhi Blackman gets it, which is great. But Mekhi, stay in bounds, brother. I was like, what happened?
Well, I think stay on his feet is probably the first step.
Yeah, that
for
too.
Blackman
Yeah, no, that is a big one. He slipped twice in 2 weeks on some big plays, so you definitely want to stay on your feet. But then when you do make the play, man, get to some pay dirt. I'm watching him, and at first we all thought it was a pick 6, and then you go back, and I was like, I think he might have stepped out. And then they showed the replay. He ran on the white line for I'm like, man, you had no idea where you were. So I know it's like, not a huge deal, obviously, but I'm sure the guys gave him a little crap about that, because I'm like, how did you not know you were not in bounds? And it wasn't like he was off balance. He was just genuinely running and thought he had scored, but big play there. And I think those moments, you talk about the yards in the game, Kevin, not the big discrepancy, but to your point, the red zone, the turnovers, those are how you win football games. And I believe in every game this year, when the Colts have won the turnover battle, they have won that game. And so it just goes to show how big those plays can be. And also, hilariously, the first thing I thought of, which is so petty of me, when Laiatu got his second interception of the season, I thought about how Buck was telling us a few weeks ago, Kevin, about how hard it is to get an interception as a defensive lineman. It's like the one thing he doesn't have on his resume. And this guy has 2 in the same season. And, I'm sure Buck is somewhere like, hey, man, share the love.
Well, and again, I've brought up this downsplay a couple times. I thought, Tyler Warren gets to celebrate that touchdown with such a huge spike, and Latu gets to celebrate that interception, to your point. It's almost like Josh Downs deserves a half ball for the Tyler Warren touchdown, and Grover Stewart deserves half that interception for what he was able to do on the Latu play. And again, when we talk about red zone, the Colts are perfect 6 of 6, but think about the red zone stops defensively. But again, that was a drive. Remember, the Colts had allowed, I think it was 2 3rd and 11s on that drive. They had ran the speed option, the Raiders, to get Ashton Genty. That first conversion, I think Blackman maybe fell down on the other one, and that was one of those. They drop 8 in coverage. Geno Smith, the league leader in interceptions, you're saying to him, hey, he's probably going to try and force one here. And can you force one into 8 different Colt defenders in a condensed area of the field? And also, Tyquan Lewis having that sack earlier in the game. That was a huge Raiders opening drive there, but they had to settle for 3 there. Again, those are 4-point plays. I mean, those plays add up immensely throughout the game. Obviously, the Latu Grover pick, that's more than 4 points, but even that Tyquan Lewis thing. I mean, the 7-0 have a little bit of a different feel to it if you're the Raiders. Those are huge, huge plays. It was one of the best red zone days the Colts have ever had as a franchise.
I mean, yeah, the stats back it up. They were historically good.
Right. On both sides.
Again, absolutely.
One thing I do want to point out, Daniel Jones looking so good for the Colts. We've seen now in a couple of cases these revivals or second chances or third chances even. I mean, Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold had a shootout yesterday. Darnold lost but threw for 370-plus yards and 4 touchdowns. Baker threw for well over 300 yards in the 38-35. And those 3 quarterbacks are kind of redefining things. At the same time, you look at a guy like Geno Smith and Justin Fields. It hasn't worked out for those guys. But maybe sometimes, James, it's just you got to be with the right team at the right time in the right place.
Perhaps, but, man, I did not think things looked this bad for Geno with the Raiders, honestly. I thought he was a better quarterback than that, and perhaps he is, but he has not shown it through these first 5 games of the year. I believe they won their season opener, and now they've lost 4 straight. And, again, he just turns the ball over like nobody's business, and you just can't win games like that. It's not rocket science. Turn the ball over a lot, you lose, and that's what happened yesterday.
Yeah. What do you think Pete Carroll's thinking? He's like, should I have stayed retired?
I was thinking, I don't know if you ever, well, as a competitor, probably a little bit is probably like, man, why aren't we much better, Mark? But, man.
That was a wet-looking poodle yesterday.
Yeah. You and this poodle. I do not think he looks like a poodle.
I
like
never
a
even
pole or something like that.
I'd never even heard that reference before, and you said it's common for you. You've heard that before.
You guys just got to live on the internet. You guys aren't on TikTok enough.
Hey, I'll take that as a badge of honor. Hopefully,
believe me, once or twice a week I send you guys some sports-related thing on TikTok. I'm on there.
Yeah, actually, Jeff's probably on TikTok the most out of all of us.
Yeah, I spend like every evening from about 8 o'clock when I have my little quiet time upstairs. I'm looking through TikToks, old sports stuff.
The most teenager thing you've ever said in your life.
Well,
he's got to learn all the new Taylor Swift dances.
I'm tired at the end of the day.
Got to get that trending.
That's how that goes.
I will say some of the quotes coming out of that Raiders locker room. Shout out to Jana Bartle, who is one of our writers at The Athletic. She's kind of filling in as we try to fill that spot on the Vegas beat. And she's like our news editor, kind of like / anytime we need like a pinch hit reporter. And the quotes that she got in that locker room were brutal, man. Like,
why the hell did they not put Kenny Pickett in the game?
Yeah, and Pete Carroll talked about that, and his response was, I thought about it, but I thought the offense needed to like build some confidence, and I'm like,
not today.
Yeah, confidence from your quarterback. Yeah, not confidence like.
Yeah, him meaning Geno Smith, and I'm like,
I know, but like new confidence from your quarterback in terms of a new player. That to me was stunning.
All right, we got a lot to talk about still. Ashton Dulin is going to join the show at 9 a.m. this morning. We'll tell you all about the Colts and their big win over the Raiders as we continue next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
Jones looks left initially, throws that way to Warren inside the 5, stretching for the pylon. Touchdown! Tyler Warren, his first receiving score in the NFL. Tyler Warren puts 6 on the board for the Colts and a spike job to boot. A.J. Cole on to punt in his 7th year out of NC State. So far this year, he ranks 6th in average at 51.2, and it's blocked. The ball is available around the 10-yard line. There's a mad dash for it. A scramble inside the 10. Shegu Alubi blocks the punt. Under center goes Jones, and they give it to Taylor, sweeping out. He's around the 5, crashes in, touchdown, Jonathan Taylor. Geno Smith takes a shotgun snap, great protection, dancing in the pocket, throws it up into the air. The ball is batted in the air, and it's tipped and intercepted by Laiatu Latu, his 2nd interception this season. Jones backs to pass, late blitz. Jones flushed out of the pocket, right, throws into the end zone. Yes, touchdown, Michael Pittman Jr. What a catch! Jonathan Taylor makes a man miss in the backfield and scoots to his right into the end zone. Geno Smith throws upfield, is picked off by the Colts. Mekhi Blackman down the far sideline. Out of the gun goes Jones, sweeping left. Taylor cuts back at the 5 into the end zone. He dances in again. 3 of them today. 3 touchdowns for Jonathan Taylor.
I thought it was great complimentary football, back and forth, all 3 phases. All things take time, you know what I mean? I think as you're building a program, sometimes it takes a little bit of time, and I think, we got some new faces in here. I think Chris has done a hell of a job with that. Daniel's playing at a high level, and guys are just believing in each other and believing in the process of what we're doing, and, it's been really good.
I think it's a huge testament to our guys, to everybody, to the locker room, the coaches, and having a strong first half and getting out to a big lead, and then coming out in the second half, there's no let up. Guys are still hungry and ready to go.
Could we respond to the game we had against the Rams? Could we go out there and try to put our best effort on tape? And I was proud of the effort we put out today.
40-6 at home over the Las Vegas Raiders. 40-6, and James Boyd, they've been putting it all together. And yes, they had that big win. They also had a big win over the Tennessee Titans. They have been putting points up on the board. They lead the NFL in point differential right now. They're over 70 points through 5 games, better than their opponents.
Absolutely. And Mark, I believe that was the Mark Henry. Was that the Mark
Yes,
Henry
sir.
intro?
3-6 Mafia.
I was going to say, I feel like that song can get played for a lot of the Colts performances this year.
I was watching that game, and that's the song that kept playing in my head. I'm like, they're getting their asses kicked.
Yeah, no, it was a beat down. And honestly, it got to the point where after the game, talking to my editor, he's like, all right, what angle do you want to take? And I'm like, there's so many you can choose from because the defense had the takeaways. The offense was rolling. JT, for the 4th time in his career, I believe, had a 3-touchdown performance. And get this, through the first 5 years of his career, he had 2 games with 3 total touchdowns in that single game. He's already got 2 of those through 5 weeks this year. So he's operating at a different level. After the game, Shane Steichen called him the best back in the league. And even on a day where he has his season low in rushing, he still finds the end zone 3 times.
Yeah, it was a big day, and we'll check in for the first time on the fan text line at 239-1070, 239-1070. Matt in Avon says, good morning. If I had a game ball for yesterday, or for that matter, the season so far, it would go to the O-line. They've kept DJ clean. They've opened up massive holes for JT. What are your thoughts on that, Kevin Bowen? The offensive line has been terrific.
Yeah, it's probably a great thing. You said Matt pointed that out. Yeah, it's good on Matt for that because, again, the job they did on Max Crosby yesterday, I said this a few minutes ago, but, a huge key that I had for Sunday was, and I know Brock Bowers didn't play, but still, from an Ashton Dulin standpoint and Max Crosby standpoint, Raiders had a couple guys that could potentially take over a game. And for you to neutralize Crosby to the level they did, make sure the star player doesn't add to the, Canton, Ohio highlight reel. Puka Nacua did the week prior. Max Crosby did not yesterday. So that is a Monday through Saturday plan, and it's Sunday execution. And the Colts did a great job in making sure he did not wreck that game. So I know the run game maybe wasn't perfect yesterday, but still, keeping Daniel Jones as protected as they did, I think through 5 weeks, and that O-line back together too. They've been together for the 5 weeks. Obviously, that helps big time as well.
Well, the Colts are off to a 4-1 start. That's the big thing right now. And, it's interesting some of the things you heard there from Shane Steichen talking about the additions that the Colts have made. Let's talk about that just a little bit, James. Guys that have been plugged in from being acquired, whether it's the draft or free agency or whatever. 5 games, so far so good, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the players they brought in, how many have been difference makers so far for this group? Now, they weren't batting 1,000 here. We saw Xavier Howard retire last week, but again, that was even sort of a contingency plan. But the people they went out and they were choice number 1, those being Daniel Jones, Cam Bynum, Charvarius Ward, yeah, it's hard to argue with those decisions. And even the players they let go, moving on from Ryan Kelly, moving on from Will Fries, and entrusting some of those positions to Matt Gonzalez and Tanner Bortolini to fill those spots, they've played well. They developed the way you wanted them to. And so, yeah, you can look back and say, okay, the cornerback room, you might have missed there, you're banged up, you're injured, but you're really, I think, kind of nitpicking. The only real problematic group for me, and it's not injury-based, are the linebackers. I still have questions about their coverage skills, how they look in space. I'm not really loving that, but I think even then they've kind of been masked by the takeaways from the secondary and the pressure that this unit at least has started to generate up front.
Yeah, you got real questions at linebacker. Definitely. That is Joe Bacci yesterday. Oof.
That was tough. Who would you say is, I guess Zaire Franklin would be the best linebacker so far, but in general, it's been kind of a woof season for that linebacker core, despite the record of 4-1.
Right, I would agree. So yeah, as you start looking forward, we don't maybe need to dwell on it today, but that's definitely an issue, and I don't think the Jalen Carlisle's return is imminent by any means. So we'll have to wait and see exactly what linebacker looks like here moving forward. But I just kind of want to go back to, and I guess Mark's intro and the eloquent music touch to it.
Somebody gonna get that.
Like, NFL teams don't do 40-6. And I know I said this to lead off the show, but I think it's worth mentioning again. The Colts have 3 wins by 20 points or more here in this season. They did not have a single win of that margin last season. Remember, last year was all the one-possession wins. Every single one was one score. The Cardinals, who the Colts play on Sunday, they've played 5 games this season, all decided by one score. NFL teams don't typically blow each other out. And you look at the Colts, again, 3 wins by at least 20. None last season, none in 2023, none in 2022. So you've got to go back to the 2021 campaign for the last time the Colts have had one such victory by at least 20 points. And here they are with 3 of them by at least 20. And for those that want to be pessimistic, want to be devil's advocate, whatever. Oh, look who they're playing. Okay, whatever. These 3 teams, yeah, they're probably heading towards top 10 draft picks. We're talking about a Colts franchise that has lost to Jake Browning, Taylor Heineke, Drew Lock in recent years. I could probably go a little bit longer on that list, but they've lost to bad quarterbacks. And not only are they beating those bad quarterbacks, but they're beating the brakes off of them. So it's extraordinary what they've done here through the first 5 weeks, and they're very deserving of the number 1 spot in the AFC right now, and the biggest point differential in the entire league.
Who would have thought that heading into the season that the Colts would be atop the AFC?
Indianapolis hasn't hosted a home playoff game in 11 years? And now the AFC runs through Lucas Oil Stadium.
At this point in time, it does. They're 3-0 in the AFC right now. 33-8 win over Miami. The crazy, but we'll take it, win over the Denver Broncos, 29-28. 21-point win at Tennessee. Probably had a real chance to win a game in Los Angeles last week. We won't relitigate that thing again. And then a 40-6 win over Las Vegas yesterday. And you just, to your overall point, Kevin, you just don't in the NFL see consistent 20-point victories. It just doesn't happen in a league that most of the time comes down to a one-possession game. Even look at all the games yesterday. Some of the upsets, it all came down to one possession. I mean, late last night, I don't think anybody would have said that the Buffalo Bills at home are going to lose to the New England Patriots. Came down to a one-possession game, and the Patriots, who are starting to look better than they had been in recent years, are doing well. But you don't see a ton of double-digit wins week to week. So
the schedule set up for the potential for the Colts to get off to a good start. I mean, obviously, I'd be lying to you if I thought they'd look as impressive from a margin standpoint as they have. But I am kind of curious what does finally playing from in front of the 8 ball do for a team that's in such a historic playoff drought? Like, does that instill some confidence? Because we know the end of the seasons, the Colts have fallen apart. The Colts have lost these December games that they have to have. Again, they've lost to some bad quarterbacks in the month of December, in January, and in recent years. Now, what does the flip side do? What does hey, wait a minute, Kurt Cignetti's telling us we believe. Okay, now Indiana football walks a different swagger. What does this start to the season do for the Colts? The NFL is probably the ultimate humble league. I mean, it can humble you so much from a week-to-week basis.
Absolutely.
So maybe it doesn't apply exactly, but what does this start? And you hear Zaire Franklin's comments, and you hear some of the, even Shane Steichen. For Steichen, he had a little post-game swagger yesterday at that podium. What does that do for you as whatever? At Kansas City shows up on the schedule. At Pittsburgh shows up on the schedule. Who you might have a meaningful game with Seattle and San Francisco. I want to say are back-to-back games. You won't play outside of Tennessee. You won't play another AFC South game until December. And if Jacksonville wins tonight, weirdly, it is still 4-1 Indy and 4-1 Jacksonville. So you got 2 games with the Jags to close out the season. I am kind of curious what this early start will do to their mental psyche. You would assume in a positive realm.
Yeah, just to clarify real quick, the Colts are actually 4-0 in the conference, 3-0 at home. So, yeah, it just speaks to how well they played. The only loss was to the NFC Rams.
Yep, they've played well, and they're going to need to rack those wins up because it does toughen up in the second half. At Kansas, coming out of that bye after they go to Berlin, at Kansas City, home against Houston, at Jacksonville, at Seattle, San Francisco on Monday night, Jacksonville at home, and then at Houston. It gets real that second half of the season, James.
Yeah, shout out to Charlie Smith. He was saying in our YouTube chat, I'll be okay with the season if our only losses were to NFC teams guaranteed the Super Bowl appearance. It's like, I mean, if you look at the odds to make Super Bowl and all those things, man, if you put some money down on the Colts, you're probably feeling pretty good at this point in the season because their chances of doing something, it feels a little more real every week. And I'm not saying they're going to go on a deep playoff run. I still have to see more from this team. But to be 4-1 in this fashion, I think is probably the most shocking part for me. And I will push back on those who are saying, oh, they could have been 5-0. Denver, you got a little lucky. LA, you gave one away. Call it a wash, 4-1. You take it and you move on with it. But I do think beyond that, Kevin, when you look at just some of the scenes I saw in the locker room. I mean, I'm standing there, and on the way out, you got Daniel Jones trying to pull on his shirt, and here's Shane Steichen, talking his ear off about some play they had or some other thing he wants to run. Their eyes are as wide as ever, and Shane looks like he's having the time of his life. And I'm thinking, didn't you just get done calling a near perfect football game? He's already talking about the next thing. And then you look at Tyler Warren, who finally grinned and was like, yeah, by the way, that pass I threw that was a throwaway. I'm really a great passer, him having a sense of humor. Braid Smith standing in the middle of the locker room, as I caught him on the way out, he's looking around. He was like, you know what? Like I said earlier, we're tired of being mediocre. Those were his words, not mine. He was saying we're trying to push past that. And he did acknowledge, to your point, Kevin, how different it feels. He was like, and this is literally what he said, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, every year we feel like we're having to claw our way back into the season or fight our way back into the schedule. And he was like, no, this year we're setting a tone. We're the ones, letting other teams know this is what we have to offer you. So it is kind of cool to see those rewards get paid off and see some of those new players, those new standards. Because as Javarius Ward told us a couple weeks ago, he was like, dude, I've been 3-0 a lot of times in my career. I ain't used to this losing stuff, and I ain't come here to lose. And then now you got the other guys who've been here for a while saying, yeah, this is different, but we have to sustain it. And we feel like we can do that.
Yeah. A lot of this coming through the text line today at 239-1070. Derek says, I'm glad I opted in for my Colts postseason tickets. It's the first time I've done it in 6 years. Going to hold our horses a little bit on playoff talk. But the point is, Kevin, people are genuinely excited again about this Indianapolis Colts team. And we had been talking about this amongst ourselves, even at training camp. There was a lack of buzz for this team all the way around in all of August. And even the very beginning of the season, you just didn't get that sense, that feeling that people are like, hey, it's football season, let's go. Colts are going to be great. And now people are starting to kind of come around to that.
Yeah, I think training camp attendance was, I believe, the lowest it's ever been at Grand Park. I think TV ratings in the preseason were some of the worst it's been in quite some time. But again, the schedule allowed for this opportunity here with those first 2 home games. And when you got that Denver game, it just seemed like, man, all of a sudden you're instilling a lot of belief. And when you stretch it to 3-0, and honestly, I felt like just the reaction from last week, that didn't really feel like this here we go again type of loss. It was like, man, you went toe-to-toe with the Rams, and you honestly squandered a lot of opportunities to win that football game. It's a totally different feeling. And again, that kind of goes back to the point I was trying to make earlier of like, okay, what does that now do for you confidence-wise? When you get into a one-possession game at Heinz Field in a few weeks, when you get in a one-possession game at Arrowhead in a little over a month, when you go to Seattle late in the season, like what now are you a believer versus bleep, here we go again? It's going to be the same old December and January football. Because, when I think back to Chris Ballard's season-ending press conference last year, I thought he was pretty candid in calling out his football team, which, again, he self-admitted, I put this team together, but we don't have enough tough guys to win those games. Now, do you feel like some of the new faces define some of the tough guys? And then also, is it just more belief of like, no, we're doing it right now. When we get into these moments late in the year, we're not going to pee down our leg.
Well, they had put it together for the first 5 weeks of the season. No question about that. By the way, more kudos for Mark. Aaron in Minnesota says, Mark, the Colts did indeed induct the Raiders into the Hall of Pain.
Yes, they did. So there you go. That's a good Mark Henry reference. By the way, if you are feeling yourself as a Colts fan and you put some money down, there is some money to be made if you really think the Colts can keep the hot streak going. I'm looking right now, and to win the AFC South, to represent the team, the AFC Championship winner, the Colts are plus 900. So if that's getting you interested, to be the number 1 seed in the AFC itself, plus 550. If you really want to get out ahead of your skis, to win the Super Bowl, plus 2,000.
Wait, so you said plus 900 to win the AFC?
Yes.
So that's $10 to win 90. What's Buffalo?
Plus 230.
And who's in between?
Shockingly, this is insane. The Colts have the 5th best odds to win the AFC Championship. The Bills, Chiefs, Ravens. I don't know how that's still plus 700, and then the Chargers.
The Ravens?
Yeah.
There's no way. This has to be updated. Someone hit the refresh button over there.
I know. You have to be out of your mind.
We should mention Spencer Schrader on an update standpoint. Shane Steichen didn't seem too optimistic about that after the game.
No, he said, and I quote, "It doesn't look good," and you never want to hear that about.
It's rare for Steichen to go there in a post-game presser.
And you never want to hear that from your coach, especially related to the type of injury. We saw the leg was planted, got ran right into his knee, and you mentioned it, I think in the first hour, Kevin, he walked off the field, he limped off the field, but boy.
That leg wasn't moving.
I would be shocked if he walked out of the stadium last night, given just how gingerly he walked, and honestly, I would be thinking, hey, just get off of it at this point and sit down somewhere and then assess the damage from there. But I would expect him to have gone under all the scans, MRI, and whatever, and we'll see if we get an update from Shane Steichen later today. But I would expect the Colts to make a move on that front and bring in another kicker immediately.
Don't they have someone on the practice squad? Am I forgetting somebody?
They did not retain Maddox Trio, so we'll see about that, if they opt for more of a veteran guy or how they decide to plan for that. As James mentioned, Mike Hilton also got hurt. Grover Stewart did leave late with a bicep injury. Grover's never injured, so the fact that he left at all, I don't know. I find it a little notable. Bicep with big dudes kind of scares me a little bit, and he's one of the more indispensable players. So, if you're a Colts fan, obviously, hopefully you look at that and say, hey, it was 40-6. You didn't need to put Grover back in the game, but we remember a couple years ago when he was suspended for the PEDs, the Colts really struggled in stopping the run without him, and I would argue there's not much of a replacement on the current roster for him. So just a couple things to note as we transition into Colts-Cardinals Week 6. They're dealing with their own injury with Kyler Murray and a foot injury. If he can't go, it would be Jacoby Brissett against his former team.
That'll be it coming up on Sunday, just a few days away already. It just goes and goes and goes, turns right over, but we're not even done with Week 5 yet. Mark, let's check it down. Good morning and welcome to a Victory Monday. Colts 40, Raiders 6. Daniel Jones 20 of 29, 2 touchdowns, 212 yards. The numbers themselves don't scream at you off the page, but Kevin Bowen, it was a really good day for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I don't know if maybe the fantasy football numbers would indicate how great of a day it was for him leading this offense. First off, 80% on third down, stupid good. 6 of 6 in the red zone, really stupid good. And 6 straight touchdown drives that ties a franchise record, beyond good. And I thought the rollout to the right, the poise, the rifling it to Michael Pittman Jr., that to me is the best play we've seen from Jones this season. That's a quarterback play. That is a franchise quarterback type of play when, hey, what are you going to do here? You're going to settle for 3. If you take a sack, you might have 0 points. And then Daniel Jones says, no, we're going to go for the jugular, and he delivers in that moment there. So big time from the Colts quarterback.
Jonathan Taylor, 66 yards and 3 touchdowns, finding the goal line. That doesn't happen very often. A guy scores 3 touchdowns in a game, James.
No, like I said earlier in this show, coming into this season, and JT had played 5 years coming into his 6th season, he only had 2 games with at least 3 total touchdowns in that game. He's already got 2 of those types of games through 5 weeks this season, so it lets you know what level he's playing at, but also the entire offense.
All right, so the Colts get ready for a game next week against the Arizona Cardinals, checking out the rest of the AFC South. How about this one? Tennessee, speaking of the Cardinals, comes back, scores 16 straight points to end the game, and they edge the Arizona Cardinals 22-21. That snaps their 4-game losing streak. Joey Sly got the game-winning 29-yard field goal at the gun. Cam Ward, 21 of 39 for 265 yards and an interception. And Calvin Ridley showed up yesterday, James. 5 receptions, 131 yards. So things at least looking up for Tennessee, and we'll see what the Cardinals have in store this coming week.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're Cam Bynum, last week you called your team booty, basically, and you had a chance to come back and get a win. And I want to say, Jeff, they were 0-4 to start the year, but they snapped, I believe, a 10-game losing streak overall. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of relief over there in Nashville for the Tennessee Titans, but they're not someone I would be worried about when it comes to just the standings as far as the AFC South goes.
That was ultimate buffoonery, how the Cardinals lost that game.
It was so weird. Again, it goes back to what I said at the beginning of the year, Kevin. Football is weird, and that was the weirdest game ever. I felt like, it was like playing Madden with like your cousin who's just pressing all the buttons, because the way that the Cardinals lost that game, that has to be one of the dumbest ways I've seen a team lose a game in a long time.
Yeah, Kyler Murray called it the worst loss of his NFL career.
Ooh.
And that's accurate. If you watched it, that is exactly
You get an interception. True. You fumble away your interception. It goes into the end zone. Ends up being a touchdown for the Titans. And also, like we talked about earlier, you have a player once again dropping the ball before you clear the goal line. That is so dumb. And honestly, I think teams and coaches should start just threatening players. If you drop this ball before the goal line, don't even bother joining us on the team plane or the bus back. Just
get your own way home.
Your NFL career is over. Just know that.
Also in the AFC South yesterday, Houston dominates the Baltimore Ravens 44-10. It can't all just be the fact that Lamar Jackson is out and hurt. Not when you give up 44 points. That defense is rough right now, Kevin.
And it's not like Houston's been putting up a bunch of offensive firepower this season. So, yeah, easily the biggest surprise in the negative direction to start this season, the Baltimore Ravens.
Later on tonight, Jacksonville will play host to the Kansas City Chiefs. That's your Monday night football game. A couple of games in Major League Baseball, divisional playoffs, trailing 1-0 in a best-of-5 series. The Cubs on the road to take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Interesting that the 2 Central Time Zone teams will be the late game tonight. And I know that the Phillies are the home team against the Dodgers, but still, Dodgers taking on the Phillies, you'd think the game happening in the Eastern Time Zone would be the early game, but that's not the case today. Dodgers already with a 1-0 lead over the Phillies as well, Mark. So I know there's baseball in your future. That's for sure.
Just win 1 game, take 1 game on the road, and the series is all over again.
Last night, the Blue Jays beat the Yankees by a score of 13-7. They're up 2-0 in that one. Tigers and Mariners split the first 2 games of their series out in Seattle. The Mariners won yesterday by a score of 3-2. WNBA Finals, the Las Vegas Aces lead 2-0 over the Phoenix Mercury after a 91-78 victory over Phoenix yesterday. Asia Wilson, 28 points, 14 rebounds. But the story, Kevin Bowen, Jackie Young, the Indiana native, 32 points, 21 of those coming in a decisive third quarter. That is a WNBA Finals record for most points in a quarter. Those two players are going to be tough to stop in that team.
Yeah, no surprise telling our state what Jackie Young can do. We've seen it since she was, 15 years old down at Princeton. So, yes, Aces up 2-0, and that's best of 7 now, right? WNBA's expanded it to best of 7 in that one, and we're still best of 5 in the divisional series with MLB.
Yes.
So urgency high for obviously all of these teams right now.
Also, as Kevin Bowen pointed out in the first hour, the Indiana Pacers tomorrow night at Minnesota, 8 p.m. tip. It's a preseason game. You'll hear it live right here on 93.5 and 107.5. That one begins at 7:30, and our first chance to get at least a peek at what things are going to look like. I know there's not clearly 2/5 of your starting lineup not coming back. The injury to Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner has moved on. I keep seeing great highlights and great things being said about Johnny Furphy, whether it's in practice or summer league games or anything else. Kevin, has he earned himself a spot in the rotation this year?
I think he was with the second unit yesterday at Fan Jam, if I saw the starting lineups correct there. So it looked like a really good crowd over there before the Colts game. So pretty much the expected starting lineup. Andrew Nemhard, Benedict Mathurin, Aaron Neesmith, Pascal Siakam, Isaiah Jackson was your 5. But yes, Furphy was a part. I think Ben Shepherd's been a little banged up here to start camp, so Furphy was a part of that second unit. But one of 4 preseason games for the Pacers, so looking forward to watching that. You can obviously listen to that, as Jeff said, but also you can watch that as well tomorrow night.
And coming up at 9 o'clock, it'll be Ashton Dulin, the wide receiver, with a couple of catches and a big day yesterday for the Indianapolis Colts. He will join us coming up at the top of the hour, about 33 minutes from now. Anything else you want to throw in before we move along, James Wood? We good?
No, I think we covered it all. The Colts are 4-1, undefeated in the AFC, and they are atop the standings. How about that?
All right, we'll talk more about that and take some of your phone calls at 239-1070. Take the pulse of Colts Nation today. See where you're thinking, what you're feeling, and how it looks. 239-1070. It's next on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Big day, 40-6 win for the Indianapolis Colts. They are now 4-1. Always fun to listen back to those highlights. The highlights just sound sweeter when there's a victory, don't they, James? It just sounds better.
Yeah, everything feels better when you win by 34. That's for sure.
No question about that. And we'll talk more about the Colts and their big win and where they are in the conference and what's still ahead. The Cardinals coming up on Sunday. In the meantime, Mark, you ready to do a little Goats of the Week as we get this Monday off and rolling on a victory day? Let's do that.
Who is the GOAT?
I told you all that I was the greatest of all time.
Jordan, here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good!
That's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
Or GOAT?
This guy sucks.
Of the week.
All right. The good, the bad, the ugly, all of it happening right now, right here on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Kevin Bowen, who is your good GOAT of the week after a big week of football and even some playoff baseball?
Yeah, shout out to the Indianapolis Colts and shout out to the energy was extremely high. I'd say one of the more energetic anvil bangs we've had in the few years of that thing being kind of the last pregame intro item. Shaquille Leonard. I'm kind of a sucker, a little bit sappy for can you honor some of your great players and do it in a really tasteful and fun way? And I thought the Colts were able to do that with Shaq Leonard yesterday. I really enjoyed hearing from him pregame. There's still so much of that same Shaquille Leonard fire inside of him, but at the same time, I thought he was super introspective, honestly, in describing his NFL journey and where he's at right now with his family. And I love how he mentioned how his high school football team that he's helping coach right now, we don't have a single defender over 200 pounds. So that doesn't mean we're not doing this and that. I'm just like, that is exactly Shaq Leonard there. So that was honestly, that was my favorite part of the weekend. I thought that was really, really cool to see him get honored like that. So great on the Colts and great on Shaq Leonard.
To piggyback off that real quick, I do think it's really cool when you have the NFL star come back to where he grew up and pour back into those kids and give them that tangible example of hey, I was in the same exact shoes, walked the same halls, and I'm telling you it's possible. I think that goes a long way. So he sounds like, and he mentioned it, Kevin, that he refound his love for football through coaching, because he said for a while there he hated it, didn't like watching it, was mad about not being able to play, but now he's able to coach up the other kids and give them a chance to chase a dream. So that's really cool.
And last thing I'll add, I don't recall the Colts ever doing something like this, like in-game honoring retirement. Obviously we've had Ring of Honor, but retire as a Colt but get your honor at game day. People have retired as Colts, but they do it at the facility, not in front of 60,000 people. I thought that was cool as well.
All right, James?
Yeah, my positive GOAT of the week would have to be Jackie Young, Indiana's own, the former Princeton high school star, all-time leading scorer in Indiana high school basketball history, and she went off in that third quarter yesterday for the Las Vegas Aces, scoring a WNBA Finals record 21 points in the third quarter. They take a 2-0 series lead, and I believe they are now 2 wins away from Jackie Young having her third WNBA championship. So we talk so much about A'ja Wilson and what she means for that team, but Jackie Young is charting her own Hall of Fame career as well.
Love Jackie Young. Thought about that for mine, but I'm going to go high school. Mentioned at the very beginning of the show. Xavier Moore, 309 yards, 6 touchdowns, crazy game. Friday night, Lawrence North rallies to beat Warren Central, 63-48. If you had 110 points for the under-over, that thing went over. If you had the under, you lost, James Boyd. How about that?
Yeah, crazy game. And shout out to Kyle Neddenrep, Indy Star, fantastic high school reporter. I know he had a long night because when high school teams score that much, you're not making many deadlines on that one.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun on Friday night. But, man, 309 yards, 6 touchdowns, 6A game. That's fantastic. Mark Dykton, what you got for us?
Best game of Sunday, in my opinion, was Bucs Seahawks, and Baker Mayfield is playing at an MVP level. 29 of 33, 379 yards and a pair of touchdowns, a completion percentage of 87.9%, and a quarterback rating of 134.7 on the season through 5 games. He's thrown for over 1,283 yards, 10 touchdowns to 1 interception, a 65% completion percentage, and a 5-game quarterback rating of 104.4. He has been incredible.
He's been doing it without his top receivers, too. He's got a nice rookie, but Evans is banged up. Godwin really hasn't gotten going yet.
And I never would have believed, like, if you had told me the transition to Tom Brady was Baker Mayfield, never in my life would I have said that would have been a seamless transition, and it has been. He's been outstanding. Similar to how Daniel Jones has found his footing in Indianapolis, Baker Mayfield has found his footing in Tampa.
I like that. All right, bad goat time of the week, Kevin Bowen.
The drunken idiot that was Marcus Sanchez on Friday night in Indianapolis. Yes, Mark pointed out I couldn't get in the garage earlier this morning. I thought about, boy, if I park down that alley, I promise I'll behave better than maybe the alleyway a few blocks over from Mark Sanchez. Great on Brady Quinn, by the way, for stepping in. True Notre Dame effort there by Brady Quinn.
Nice job, too.
Mark Sanchez, just a dumbass. I mean, what in the world? Picking a fight with a 69-year-old dude? I hate all of it. It just, someone texted me, it was like, wait, you're going to find out that Mark Sanchez is the suspect. I'm like, what? And then all of a sudden you see all of the details that have played out with the story. Yeah, just beyond idiotic. And social media was an absolute train wreck in describing everything that happened there on Friday night and Saturday. So, yeah, this story keeps on getting wilder. I need video of Sanchez in this alleyway. Did they say he was sprinting up and down the alleyway at one point here? You're trying to test out the 40-yard dash from the combine?
I mean, his broadcasting career is over, right? There's no way you're coming back from that.
Unless something comes out when it's all discovered that it's not the way we heard it. But the more we did learn, the more the police started to write things down in their reports after looking at video and speaking to multiple witnesses. It doesn't look very good.
Do you think he said, I need the butt fumble to be second on Google when they Google my name? I just got to push the butt fumble down one more.
Update the resume, please.
Yeah. That's going to be tough. James Boyd, what do you have?
Yeah, also, real quick, shout out to, I hope I'm saying her last name right, Angela Ganote, is that her name? Yeah, shout out to her. We talked about how that news got dispersed. I thought she was all over it with facts about our city and, you know, some of the issues that we do have here, which are real, but also just some of the, getting rid of some of the, I guess, pseudo narratives about big cities and how we live here in Indianapolis. So I've been downtown many times, and I managed to make it through the day and the night without any incident. I wonder why. And then moving on to my bad goat of the week, I would have to go with Arizona's Amari DiMercado. Him dropping the ball at the goal line again, 1 week after A.D. Mitchell did it, and I believe that's the third time I've seen it in the last 2 years. If you go back to JT, the fact that this keeps happening is just a testament to how dumb some players are. And I think that each time another player does it, they become the dumbest player on that list because it just happened. Why did you do that? And it go back to the overall game. They were going to be ahead 28-6 in that game if he had scored on that touchdown. They end up losing in epic fashion. And so he's got to own that. And I would honestly, like the Colts did with A.D. Mitchell, I would sit him. You can't play for me if you do something that dumb.
That's a great bad goat of the week. I'm going to go with a goat for my bad goat of the week. Bill Belichick has been a disaster for North Carolina. They're 2-3. They're 2 wins over really inferior opponents. When they have played big boys like Clemson, who's been struggling all season long, going into their game Saturday, Clemson was 1-3. Clemson goes into Chapel Hill, wins it 38-10. I watched about a quarter and a half of that game. He's catatonic over on the sidelines. He doesn't say anything to anybody. The expression never changes. No interaction of any kind with his student athletes whatsoever. He clearly didn't know what he was doing when it came to the portal. They don't have talent. It has been a disaster to this point in time for the GOAT, and he's my bad GOAT of the week for North Carolina and what's going on over there.
Jordan, I don't like what we're doing here. You want to go on vacation?
Man, he's really looking at that little iPad or whatever it is in the sideline. I wonder if he's looking at Jordan's bikini photos or if he's watching national football there, man.
How did I get here?
It's not been good.
How do I get out of here?
It's not been good.
Mark, please go with James Franklin. Someone's got to go with James Franklin.
No. Mine was going to be Amari DiMercado, so we're just going to play that highlight real quick to tell you how stupid that was.
Oh, did he drop it early? Boy, that's going to be close.
Oh, my goodness. Boy, he extended it with his hand a little bit.
Did Snead's trying to say that he got the ball out. Wow.
You see him kind of put it on his fingertips, but did he have control, Arch, before that thing broke the plane?
Dumb. 2 weeks in a row, 2 players in the NFL are making that happen.
Spiro Ditas is now on Titans games.
I don't understand.
They've moved Spiro from Colts games to Titans games.
I know. He's still stuck in the AFC South.
Gosh.
But, yeah, I don't understand how every coach in the NFL hasn't hammered that to every player in every meeting all week long after the A.D. Mitchell thing, and for you to do it the very next week, like that is not only grounds for like getting benched, you might get cut from the team because that's how stupid that is. Just finish the run, cut through the plane, then do whatever you want to do your celebration, all that stuff. I don't get it. I don't understand it. And at this point, yeah, I would do hefty fines and benchings or outright cuts because that is inexcusable at this point.
And Kevin, honorable mention to James Franklin, who just can't win against top 10 teams, certainly hasn't been able to do it at home. And you talk about an upset loss of epic proportions on Saturday. You can't lose to a brand new coach after one guy just got fired a week ago to UCLA and where they're at right now.
So UCLA really had not led a minute of a football game until Saturday this season. They were 0-4 and they hadn't led for 1 minute.
That's crazy.
And they do that to Penn State.
Oh, my goodness.
Not good. Not good, Bob.
I just always think about James Franklin just hating on Lucas Oil because it was too loud or something, and he got a stick up his ass.
This is a JV setup. The band's too loud right now during my press conference. Maybe win the game, and you would like to hear the band play a little more.
That is facts.
All right, that's what's happening for good, the bad, the ugly, all that stuff here on Week 5 in the NFL. And in a moment, we'll talk more about the Colts specifically and their 34-point win less than 24 hours ago. 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. 40-6. It's just fun to say that. 40-6. Yes, it was an inferior opponent. Geno Smith looking rough right now. But, James, you've been saying it all morning long. When you're playing a bad football team and you're supposed to be a good football team, you, to your words, beat the brakes off that team. And the Colts have done that on a couple of occasions now.
Yeah, and here's what Zaire Franklin said after the game, and I put it in my story. He said, that's what shows up on film. I think regardless of the level of competition that we play, I think we play to a certain standard. And it's either you're going to get to that standard or you're going to get ran off the field. And that's what we saw yesterday, and it's what we've seen 3 times this season as the Colts have just had these dominant performances, total beatdowns of much inferior opponents. But again, it's hard to win by that margin in the NFL. And I think that's a point that Kevin has harped on a lot, and it's rightfully so because you just don't see this happen often. I mean, the Colts beat the Raiders yesterday like they were a directional school in week 0 of college football.
And, Kevin, it's not just that they're winning and winning a couple of these games by big scores. Like yesterday, certainly from the second quarter on, you just eye test. The Colts just look like the better football team in complete control of the football game. That's fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of an odd blowout, if that makes sense. The Raiders won 2 quarters. The Colts won 2 quarters yesterday. Like, how weird does that sound?
But it never felt like the Raiders were really in the game.
But it was just the yards are kind of the similar at the end of the game. The penalty yardage is kind of similar. What's the difference?
Turnovers and blocked punts.
Red zone.
Yeah.
Red zone, red zone, red zone. The Colts were 6 of 6 in the red zone, and the Raiders were 0 for 4. So think about all those little plays in the red zone. Josh Downs converts 3rd and 12. Daniel Jones rolls out to his right, finds Michael Pittman Jr. for the score. Instead of the big holding penalty inside of the 10, the Colts actually find Jonathan Taylor run game success near the goal line in the red zone. Defensively, how about Tyquan Lewis's sack early in the game? Again, just kind of a little play there that maybe at the time of it, we don't talk a lot about it today. It's a big play. It's a 4-point play. Obviously, Grover Stewart getting his big old paws up there for the Latu interception. That's a 7. That potentially takes 7 away from the Raiders. Like, that is the difference in the game. You score 40 right there in those 2 quarters. And yes, Shagun Alubi, and that was not like a pump block on there. That was Alubi recognizing Ian Thomas for the Raiders. Didn't feel like he had like great leverage and thought to himself, boy, if I can angle this right, I could get in there. And I mean, that hit Alubi almost where it counted. He got that great of a jump on that play. And, shout out to him. The Colts have lost some core special teamers. And, on a day where Ashton Doulin's asked to do more offensively, Alubi's really kept his roster spot because of special teams. And honestly, the linebacker play next to Zaire Franklin's been so poor, I wouldn't mind seeing Alubi get a little bit more run out there with how it's been. But that was a huge play at a time in the game when it was still, scoreboard-wise close.
All right, checking on the text line, 239-1070. Greg says, so we do have one answer from our previous question in which Tyler Warren did attempt to pass before AR. However, we still have the opportunity to see who completes a pass to a receiver other than themselves, James Boyd.
Again, the most Anthony Richardson play ever in that game. And honestly, he's become sort of an afterthought when it comes to this offense. All the conversation that I was driving a lot of personally coming into the year about, if Daniel Jones doesn't look good, will we see Anthony Richardson play again and start again for this franchise? And, I mean, barring injury, that is an absolute no. Daniel Jones is playing at an MVP level through his first 5 games of the year. I don't see that lightly. And I actually had a line in my story yesterday about how they went to the trick pass with Tyler Warren, and it didn't work, and Tyler wisely threw the ball away. But on the next play, it's like, okay, enough of that. Let's get back to, we have one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And I wrote in my story, they gave the ball back to their star quarterback and then repeated, yes, star quarterback, because that's what Daniel Jones has been through the first 5 games of the year. And I don't want to discount that or discredit him just because we're not used to seeing it in years past. This dude is playing as good a football as any quarterback in the league.
All right, coming up in a moment, we will talk to Ashton Dulin of the Indianapolis Colts. He had a couple of catches yesterday, 55 yards, looked really good when he was on the field, and he was on the field quite a bit. We'll break down how things went for the Colts against the Raiders yesterday and speak to that wide receiver as we continue at 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
This is the Fan Morning Show with KB, JB, and Jeff.
3rd and long on their own 34. Jones out of the gun. 2 receivers right. Backs to pass. Plants in the pocket. Throws a dart over the middle of the field. That's a catch. Ashton Dulin had to stop and go down to bring it in, but he does. Secures the grab into Raider territory at the Las Vegas 46-yard line. Colts begin 1st and 10 at the Raider 44-yard line. Deep drop by Daniel Jones, taking a shot downfield for Ashton Dulin, and he goes up and makes the grab. He's got it inside the 10, down to the 9-yard line. Goes Ashton Dulin for a gain of 35 yards.
I think he's just a really good football player, kind of in all aspects of the game. He's just a really, really good football player. He's always going to be in the right spot, makes a tough catch.
He's as gritty as they come. He's as tough as they come, and he does anything that's asked, and he understands his role. You know, I go over roles and opportunities to start the season, and I go through every player, and I say, yeah, you're our special teams ace, and you're going to go cover kicks, and when you get your opportunity on offense, go make the most of it. And today, obviously, he got a hell of an opportunity and played a ton on offense and made some big-time plays, caught a big in cut there, and then obviously there in the 4th quarter, threw the go ball to him, went up and made a hell of a play. So hats off to him. Just a tremendous worker is what he is.
Talking about Ashton Doulan. We'll hope to talk to him very soon here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. And it may also, you beg the question, with all the mistakes that A.D. Mitchell has made, and certainly going back to last week, he didn't play till the very end of the game yesterday when even Anthony Richardson was in the game. And James Boyd, Ashton Doulan playing like he did yesterday, does he earn himself more spots moving forward? And does A.D. just get pushed further and further down the list on that?
Yeah, we'll see. I think a lot of it comes down to just what you want to physically put on one person's body over an extended period of time. So for one game, it's probably doable, but you probably don't want to, play Ashton Dulin so many snaps. He had 47 snaps on offense yesterday and, certainly showed up big time for this team, had 10 snaps on special teams. And so I thought he was, did a phenomenal job, and he's one of the most beloved players in the locker room just because he's had the underdog story, undrafted guy, was a, all-pro on special teams, proven himself as a wide receiver. So, yeah, there's a lot of guys rooting for Ashton Dulin, and he was one of many bright spots for the Colts yesterday.
And he joins us on the Payless Liquors hotline as we speak, coming off the heels of a 40-6 win against the Las Vegas Raiders. Good morning, Ashton Dulin. How much fun did you have yesterday, my friend?
Good morning. I appreciate that. It was definitely lots of fun yesterday. To get a win like that and at home is definitely a good feeling.
Ashton, you strike me as a dude that doesn't get tired. You just played a career high in offensive snaps. Are you extra tired this Monday morning?
Body I'm definitely feeling a little bit, but hey, that's what I signed up for. 7 years been used to it, so nothing new.
So no thought to go to the old oxygen after the kick return. I literally would have been on the bench for the next 10 minutes, and you just run back to the offensive huddle.
It's actually funny because a couple of guys were like, hey, you want to get no oxygen? I was like, man, I didn't even think about it. I probably should have thinking hindsight, but probably next time.
Ashton, when you look at what your offense was able to do overall, why do you think this group is clicking at a rate that we just haven't seen for a team that once had Peyton Manning? I mean, you all scored on 6 straight possessions, and not just scored, you had 6 straight touchdowns.
Man, I think it's just a testament to, how prepared everybody is from, to the quarterback position, O-line, running back, tight end, receiver. Everybody's locked in and dialed in on what the game plan is and what their job is doing every given Sunday. So I think when you can click on a high level like that, you get the results we're getting.
After the game, Shane Steichen described you as being tough and gritty. Would you agree with that assessment, and how would you describe just your path from, Malone, which no longer has a football program at that, university, to now being, on your second contract? I believe it might have been second or third contract in the NFL as an undrafted player.
I think that's a fair description. I should pride myself on, doing whatever it is the team asks of me and doing a high effort. I've been doing it for 7 years now. It's been blessed to be at 7 years now. So just got to continue to do that and just stick with it.
All I know is I want Ashton Doulan on the radio station more. This deep voice on a Monday morning, I'm all about that, man. I dig that. But we also want to know, Talk us through what it's like in the huddle with Daniel Jones right now. We're all kind of getting to know him a little bit. You guys get to spend every single day with him. Why is he successful here? What's going on, and what do you see?
I mean, he attacks every day the same as far as how he prepares, and he's in the building early. He was the last one to leave. I might air him out for this, but he might show up to a dinner a couple 15, 20 minutes late just because he's breaking down film still coming from the facility. So we might give him a little stuff for that. But, he prepares in the right way, and he comes into work. He leads the right way. He leads by example. He's a great guy to have in the huddle.
Ashton, when you kind of agreed with, Shane's assessment of, gritty, work ethic, et cetera, what's that rooted in? When was that kind of instilled in you from I assume, a younger age?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've been in sports since 4, 5, 6 years old, so the competitive nature is there for sure. That's just something I've always kind of prided myself on. But to be a part of a team like this, kind of everybody has that grit and that grind. So it's kind of contagious around the facility and the building. When you see somebody else doing it, you kind of want to pick your play up too. So just to have that, it's great to be around.
If you don't mind, could you take us back? And I think you've told this story before, but for our audience that hasn't heard it, could you go back to the 2019 draft and just, I guess, did you think you would get drafted? What was the final day like, and why Indy as an undrafted free agent?
I mean, for me, it was to think I was get drafted. I was just happy to get the opportunity to go to the combine, be the first player from my school to go to the combine. And have a chance to get drafted, and just to be in the league as a whole, to be that first guy was surreal, kind of a blessing. But just to get in the building, and that final day, not hearing my name called, but then immediately after, you're on the phone talking to teams and kind of deciphering, what's the best fit and where to go. And Indy was always kind of my second home. Cause I was born here, and my mom's side is all from Indy, so it was like this is a good choice. The situation with just to be here with Chris and everybody, and they were welcome me with welcome arms, open arms, They were like, just come in and work and, earn your spot. And that's what happened.
I totally forgot that you were born here. Where were you, or where did your mom's side grow up, and how long did you live here?
Yeah, so I was born in Elkhart, Indiana. She was born in Elkhart. I was only there for a couple months, but her she grew up here. Her side is all from Elkhart. They say that's the RV capital of the world. So small little Elkhart. Yeah.
They should be giving Ashton Dulin just RVs galore after that effort yesterday.
I feel like
right?
It, right? We got to get your Wikipedia. We got to get the Wikipedia page updated, Ashton, because they're lying about you, man. They said you're born in Ohio, and I feel like after you have a game like that and a career like you've had, you got to get some more respect here on the internet.
Wikipedia, anybody can edit on Wikipedia, so it's a free game with that for sure.
I'm gonna go in and change it to Ashton doesn't get tired Doulan, as your name. One thing I do want to get into, and I think I had this conversation with you a couple years ago, actually. So can you describe your football career pre-Malone? Because from what I understand, and this was self-admitted by you at the time, you weren't always maybe the best student or whatever, and didn't play a lot of organized football growing up. So can you take us down memory lane a little bit, and also explain what the shift was, what your pivot was to taking football more serious and obviously getting to where you are today?
Yeah. So obviously I played throughout Little League, junior, pee-wees and middle school, junior high. Starting when I was 8 years old, played till I got to high school. The problem was my grades my freshman and sophomore year. Didn't have the grades, so I couldn't play. I couldn't run track either. Not focusing in the classroom, stuff like that. But then I missed my freshman and sophomore year, playing my junior and senior year. Was playing free safety my junior year, and then played both ways, obviously, my senior year. And then had a couple walk-ons, preferred walk-ons to play free safety. Had 4 offers for receiver. But I also wanted to run track in college. So for me, it was let's do both. Malone was the best fit for that. And then, played out from there, got recognized by scouts, and here I am now, 7 years later.
That's crazy. And from what I understand, Malone is in Canton, Ohio, so you're right next door to the Hall of Fame. So what was that like? Did you ever think, when did it become realistic for you, I can probably make it to the NFL? And how much of it was a reminder of, how much it takes when you got the Hall of Fame, right next door.
Yeah, I mean, we played in the stadium, so just to play there every Saturday was kind of dope. For me, just to know that you have an opportunity to go, as long as you do what you got to do, handle your grades, handle your business on the field and off the field, and they'll find you. So for me, my junior year, I was like, I got a shot. But I always believe, of course, I could make it to the league. That was always a goal of mine. But to have it, kind of come lay out in front of you, and the plan kind of comes together, and it's like, okay, now I can really do this. Your teammates around you, they get excited too because they want a chance too, and they see scouts coming around. They're like, okay, everybody might have a shot. So just to have that in the locker room was good to see.
Well, Ashton, just real quick, I want to say your clout is already rising. We had a listener already update the Wikipedia page to say born in Elkhart, Indiana. So how quick was that?
Look at that. Man, wearing a lot of hats like Ashton Dulin yesterday on game day. He was a gunner. He was covering kicks. He was taking a kick back to the house. Unfortunately, got called back. And 2 big catches. Should have had a third. Frankly, I thought that other one was a catch there on the far sideline. Ashton Dulin with us here on the Payless Liquors hotline. What is the new kickoff rule like? I'm stressed following it. What is that like for you? It's an entertaining play, but I feel like there's a ton of things going on with the new kickoff.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's definitely fun. We get so many more chances to return the ball. But the kickers are kind of getting crazy with these kicks, some of these knuckleball kicks and the different kind of trick kicks they can do. It makes fielding it a little bit more tougher. But once if you field it clean and you kind of beat that first level, then you got a shot pretty much almost every kickoff. So I mean, you just got to find the holes and trust your blocks, and then you gonna have a big play on the rise.
Biggest thing you've learned from Reggie Wayne since he's been your position coach?
Oh man. Is he diagnoses coverage probably better than anybody else. He's on the field, he's on the sideline sometimes, just yelling at us what the coverage is, and right before the play you might see a picture, it changes, and he's able to, sometimes we can hear him, sometimes we can't. He doesn't know that, don't tell him that. But when he sees it, he's yelling on the sideline, hey, cover 2, cover 4, whatever. But just having him there, and it makes reading defenses easier, makes you comfortable, go out there and play and trust your abilities.
Is he a coach that shows his own highlights to you?
Believe it or not, he's probably only showed I could probably count on one hand how many times he showed me his highlights. Really? Probably all of us as a whole. He doesn't really brag too much, but he definitely shows us his like when he's breaking down a certain route or something like that. He'll definitely go back to the archives and pull his one-on-one clips of him just routing somebody up and and doing what he does.
Hey, while we're talking about wide receivers, one of the things I really like about this group, and obviously Jonathan Taylor is one of, if not the best running back in the NFL right now, but running backs in the NFL don't get yards unless wide receivers, not just offensive linemen, do their job and make blocks. This group seems totally bought in on making sure you make your block and your assignment. What do you guys talk about going into games when it comes to you just making sure you seal your edge, you take care of the cornerback, you help create that hole? What's that like for you guys?
Oh man, I mean everybody in the receiver room is ready to block for anybody. There's cliches, block to get the rock. So that we're all kind of bought in on making sure our guy doesn't make the tackle, because if he doesn't make the tackle, then Reggie is counted as a loss every time. Doesn't matter if your guy makes the tackle, whether you beat him in the first 5 yards and you had a good block for that first 2 seconds of the play, but if he gets on the tackle where he makes the play, Reggie counted as a loss. So for us, it's don't let your man make the tackle, and let JT go to work.
Great fun to talk to you this morning. Nice job yesterday. It's been a fun season so far. Keep it going, my man. We appreciate watching you. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed. Appreciate you having me. Have a good one.
You bet. Ashton Dulin joining us on the Payless Liquors hotline. I dig it.
How about that?
I'm going to give him his own midday show right there.
Doesn't his voice just scream professional?
Before Jake. No, I'm not saying anything about Jake.
His voice matches his role playing on the Colts. I hope this is a compliment. Ashton Dulin is like a quality Purdue basketball player.
Yeah. I like that.
Just like Matt Painter knows exactly what he's got in putting the puzzle pieces together. And that, to me, is Ashton Dulin. And honestly, James, I felt this way in watching Dulin yesterday. I thought to myself, what an incredible, perfect person to be the A.D. Mitchell replacement yesterday. Like, the Colts punished A.D. Mitchell yesterday. They clearly did. I think, honestly, their hope was probably not even to dress him, but then Alec Pierce has the concussion setback on Friday, so then they felt like they had to dress him, but they didn't play him through the first 3 quarters of the game. A.D. Mitchell literally dressed, didn't play. His helmet's off at multiple moments on the sidelines. You rarely see that from a player. Clearly, he was not going to be involved in any meaningful aspect of the game, and that's the dude that replaces him. The dude that checks every single box, still playing special teams for you. He's trustworthy. Maybe he might not win the one-on-one route. Maybe he's not doing the play in L.A., but he's just reliable. He stands for everything you want to be about. How many undrafted free agents in this league last 7 years with one team, let alone 3 different coaching staffs?
Yeah.
I mean, all of it. It's an awesome, awesome story. And I think not only let's send a message to A.D. Mitchell, but let's do it with this dude. If I'm A.D. Mitchell watching him perform yesterday, I'm thinking to myself, man, maybe I should learn a little bit more about how Ashton Dulin works.
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk to Ashton about his relationship with A.D. Mitchell right after the blunder in L.A., and he was saying, this is a person that I think is extremely talented. He cares a lot about the game of football, but at the same time, if there is ever a point to be professional or to learn from a guy who had to kind of scratch and claw his way to the NFL, it is Ashton Dulin. So I think in a way, it's tough love that the Colts gave A.D. Mitchell, but also the person he received it from the most indirectly is Ashton Dulin. And if you see that guy respond the way that he did, I think you have no choice but to not necessarily pout, but to look in the mirror and go, okay, there is a higher standard I can hold myself to. And in the end, like we said, we're not asking or saying, oh, you should have been benched for the entire season or cut him or get rid of him. Just make it hurt a little bit and understand that, there's other guys who are, living and dying and trying to scratch and claw their way for the opportunity that you've had and you took for granted. Not because you were consciously doing it, just because, you probably subconsciously did it. And I think from now on, we probably will see a higher level of focus, I think, from A.D. Mitchell and just a higher level of professionalism.
James, you might know this. I'm pretty sure Doolin was the finalist for the D2 Heisman, I think it was, in his final year at Malone. I forget what the award is called, but I'm pretty sure he was. And I think what stands out to me is, so he is the finalist for one of the biggest individual awards at his level play.
Yes.
Yet you watch him in the NFL, and he does all the dirty work. He picks up all the trash. He's the one, turning off every light, shutting every door. Like, he does all, and that to me is like a hard combo to maybe have of, like, I think sometimes for these D2 guys that maybe, have great individual careers at their respective schools, now your role at the NFL is a totally different ask than what you were doing as whatever, the hot shot on your college campus there. So I really enjoyed that. So I don't know, maybe we'll re-rack that at 7:30 or something tomorrow for those that missed it, because I think Ashton Dulin deserves some flowers.
Ashton Dog Dulin.
After yesterday, you can say that. Let's check it down, Mark.
I'll give you guys 2 guesses as to who texted me with the official name of the D2 Heisman.
Oh, Greg Renshaw.
Scotty, right? Can I take a guess at it, though?
Friday at 8 o'clock, Greg Mother Bleepin' Rakestraw.
That's way too easy.
The Harlan Hill Award. Thank you, Rake. Oh, thank you, Eddie Garrison. Look at that.
Yeah,
Eddie Garrison saying, Greg Rakestraw,
shout out my boy Eddie.
Hold my beer.
Can you guys name the FCS trophy?
No chance.
No shot.
Walter Payton.
Really?
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
All right. We have an all-star roster of guys helping out here. There's no question about that. Football yesterday, Colts over the Raiders, 40-6. Daniel Jones, 20-29, 2 touchdowns, 212 yards. Perfect execution of what the offense needed to look like, Kevin, especially in the red zone yesterday.
6 of 6, the Colts. Red zone issues, non-existent for the offense, and at the same time, you flip it over to the defense. The Las Vegas Raiders were 0 for 4. So think about that. 10 red zone opportunities in the game, and every single time the Colts won the red zone. That's the difference. I mean, look at this total yardage. It is, I want to say it was 3. How about that? The Colts had 317 for their yards yesterday. Is that fitting or what?
Perfect.
The Raiders had 296. That's not that big of a difference. The Colts had 12 more penalty yards than the Raiders. And yet you beat them 40-6. Why? Red zone. Red zone, red zone, red zone.
Red zone turnovers, you'll win most football games. You're ahead in those two categories. And they had a blocked punt, 2 interceptions yesterday to go along with everything. And, oh, by the way, Jonathan Taylor goes for 3 touchdowns on the day.
He is having himself quite a season. And this is somebody we already knew was a great player, a 2-time Pro Bowler, led league in rushing in 2021, was a first-team All-Pro. But I would argue this version of Jonathan Taylor might be the best version we've seen yet, which says a lot about his talent, where he's at in his career, but also the offense around him. I think I used the word absurd in one of my quick stories yesterday right after the game because the Colts are scoring at an absurd rate. What we're seeing is just not normal for any level of NFL football, and so to have this happen sort of week in and week out is pretty remarkable.
There are 2 teams on top of the AFC standings right now after 5 weeks, or 5 weeks. Colts are 4-1. The Bills are 4-1. Colts are 3-0 at home, but they are also 4-0 in the conference. The Bills are 3-1 in the conference. I know it's only a third of the way through the season, KB, but right now, the Indianapolis Colts are the number 1 team in the AFC. How about that?
The AFC runs through Lucas Oil Stadium. How about that? Take that, swim trials in the summer. Back to hosting home playoff games.
A plus 74 in point differential through 5 games so far. For the Colts, they will play next Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. More on that in a few minutes. Meanwhile, controversy over the weekend involving a former player here in our city. Former NFL quarterback Mark Sanchez arrested on multiple charges after being hospitalized following an incident in Indy early Saturday morning. The 38-year-old Sanchez, according to police, arrested at a local hospital on suspicion of battery with injury, unlawful entry of a motor vehicle, and public intoxication. Those are all misdemeanors, but there's a chance those could get upgraded to perhaps a felony or 2.
Yeah, that is what I heard when I was watching WTHR last night. Basically, if you're the prosecutor, you would want to get all the medical records from whoever's involved and review video evidence and then perhaps up the charges from there. Angela Ganote, the Fox 59 reporter, also put out there that they will have a press conference regarding some updates to this, stabbing and arrest involving Mark Sanchez today at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So, a lot more to unpack there and just an unfortunate event. But like I said, I will defend Indianapolis' reputation against, a lot of the interesting narratives out there.
All right, let's talk some college football over the weekend. Illinois, number 22, goes into Ross-Ade. They beat up on Purdue 43-27. They did post 453 yards of total offense against Carolina.
Hey, we just went over this with yards. How many yards did the Colts have more than the Raiders yesterday? All we care about is the scoreboard around here.
All right. Chirp, chirp. Ball State beat Ohio 20-14. And Notre Dame, 21st ranked team in the nation. They keep coming back after that rough start. They beat Boise State 28-7, Kevin Bowen.
Yes.
And you were nervous.
Bit sloppy early on.
Yeah,
it was a close game there for about 2.5 quarters, but Notre Dame finally put their foot down and, beat Boise State. So far, so good since the 0-2 start.
And who's your favorite player for Notre Dame right now? You said you professed your love to him last week?
Who did I?
Jeremiah Love.
Well, I think Jeremiah Love's the best player I've seen in a Notre Dame uniform, yes.
Yeah. 103 yards.
Can he stop hurdling people? Because he tried to do that again the other day, and I was like, brother.
I know when he went down,
too,
I'm
like, please stop doing that.
He's got a little Reggie Bush in him, and I don't say that lightly.
All right, other scores from around the region in case you missed them over the weekend. Southern Illinois beat Indiana State 55-27. Drake shut out Valpo 41-0. Butler got a win at St. Thomas 21-14, and Indy beat William Jewell 63-17.
Ball State got a big one. Did I see that?
They did. Chirp, chirp. I said that a minute ago, 2014 over Ohio.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good work there for Coach Uramovich.
Coming up this weekend, of course, number 7 Indiana on the road to play number 3 Oregon. That'll be a 3:30 start on Saturday, and we'll find out a lot more about Indiana and where they're really standing this year. They win that game, and look out, Kevin Bowen.
So that's a 6 a.m. wake-up call for College game day out in Eugene. Is that correct?
Yeah. Get them up early. Let's go. The Fighting Todd Myers will play at Minnesota this coming week. Notre Dame home against North Carolina State.
All right.
There you go. Anything else you guys want to throw in? The Aces are up 2-0 over the Mercury in the WNBA Finals. And Mark, the Cubs back on the field today, trailing 1-0 in their best of 5 series, I should say, with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Steal a game on the road and series starts all over.
Pacers' first preseason game tomorrow night. That's 8 o'clock tip up there in Minnesota. One of 4 preseason games here for the Pacers, and this will be not only on our airwaves, but you can watch it. Don't think it will be Chris and Quinn. I was texting a little bit with Michael Grady yesterday asking, wait, are you going to be on the call since we get your feed? He goes, no, it'll actually be their radio guy, Alan Horton, on the call in the preseason. But we still will be able to watch the Pacers coming up tomorrow night in their first preseason game.
All right, Monday Night Football tonight. Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Kansas City Chiefs. When was the last time you were rooting for the Chiefs to come up with
Colts
a big road win?
Or Swift fans tonight, correct?
Yeah. We'll see what happens. All right, coming up in just a moment, we'll go through some of the other things that happened in the National Football League. How does that affect the Colts? What are we looking at moving forward on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan? Colts are the talk of the town, if not the entire National Football League, off to a 4-1 start. There are no undefeated teams left in the season. The two last remaining undefeated teams both get beat this weekend, and so Colts are as good as anybody right now, and they sit atop the AFC with a 4-1 record, just over the Buffalo Bills, who have a loss in conference. The Colts do not have a loss in conference so far. Mark, you ready to get to some headlines from over the weekend for the Indianapolis Colts as they come up with that big 40-6 victory? Let's do some of that.
Extra! Read all about it!
I can't read it. There's no words on it.
I'm Ron Burgundy, and this is what's happening in your world tonight.
Ripped from the headlines of the newspaper.
We'll do it live.
Post-game headlines.
Thing sucks.
So, I actually threw these post-game headlines out at the end of the third quarter because I'm like, this game's a wrap. I did the Vince Carter gif and everything. I was like, this is over. Why am I going to waste time waiting for this game to go final? This game is over. So I sent it out there. 5 words or less, your takeaways from Colts Raiders. And there were some good ones. Jeremy chimed in, said, taking that AD all day, and meaning Ashton Dulin over AD Mitchell. I thought that was really clever. Another one said, the Colts have their quarterback, by Rob Albright. My favorite one by BT said, the autumn wind is a fart.
Oh. I like this one from Bell. Tom Brady ownership not helping. I totally forgot Brady was like a part owner in the Raiders. Steve, doing it well.
Yeah, that was well done.
Ooh, I like that.
How about Aaron, our frequent listener from Minneapolis, says Colts cash in Raiders chips.
Jason Ellis says, can Warren place kick too? Can he add that to the resume?
I bet he could.
Was I the only one confused why they didn't try Sanchez?
I think it would have been more, you would think that they practice this with backups, right? But who's going to hold the ball probably?
Well, again,
it's going to be Drew Ogletree.
He's going to snap. Luke Rhodes is the holder. We saw it the other day at practice. Yeah. Rigoberto Sanchez was out, unfortunately, due to a family matter, a tragic family matter, that, you know, they obviously have backups for. I just thought it's 40-6. What a perfect emergency situation to practice that, but I guess not here. Noah,
this was like Madden. We're not settling for a field goal when our kicker's hurt. We're going for 2.
It was like Shane's like, well, we can't get these 2-point conversions. We're gonna get one of these. Noah here. Colts win. Bocce got hibachied.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Lord.
Linebacker playing
not as
for the
nice
Colts right now.
with that headline.
Yeah. Mark, did you say this one from Scotty? A period, D period better than AD?
No, that's a good one though.
AD better than AD.
That is very good.
I did have a conversation with them. This was like weeks ago before all this, you know, the blunders with AD Mitchell happened. But I was asking Ashton Doulan, I was like, "Are you the real AD? Are you the first AD?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm the OG. You know, I've been here longer and things like that." So that room is very tight knit. And like I said, I don't expect this AD Mitchell punishment to be something that derails his second season in the NFL. It's just, you know, a lesson learned for the young man, and hopefully comes back and honestly plays better because of it.
Well, and again, that's probably a topic for maybe a little bit later in the week, but unfortunately, that Alec Pierce news was not good on Friday at all. You know,
no, I would imagine the Colts had to change a lot of things when it comes to not a ton of stuff, but your game plan all week to have Alec Pierce in there. He had been practicing for 2 days, and then you got to kind of, you know, change things up because he's not available for you.
Pretty rare to see a guy, again, okay, miss 1 week due to concussion. Okay, that's rather normal. Then the next week, he was full Wednesday, full Thursday, and then again, came in Friday morning, was like, guys, I'm not feeling well. And it's a guy that has had, I think, 3 different concussions in his career. So I asked that, I guess, moving forward to this week, if Pierce, if he can't go, it's got to be Doulan again, right? I mean, there's no way you're going back to AD Mitchell, are you?
Probably see a little mix of both, but I would think Doulan has earned himself more snaps.
Boy, I tell you what.
I just don't know how much you want to put physically on one body. That's my only pushback in any scenario about that.
I can hear you there, but to me, I don't think you need to punish AD Mitchell anymore, but I think Ashton Doulan's earned the right to be the opposite backup wideout with Alec Pierce out. I mean,
yeah, I'm not doubting that. It's just that, okay, if Alec Pierce remains out, are you still going to go out there and ask Ashton Doulan to play, you know, a bunch of snaps again? And how long can you sustain that? Because these aren't just, you know, he's lining up to be like just some guy who's not involved. I mean, when he's on there as a gunner, he's often running down to crash into somebody.
Yeah, he's not
and vice
half-assing
versa.
it out there.
Exactly. So just something to keep in mind. But I'm sure he will welcome it. And the guy, he told me he's already a little crazy and wired differently because I was telling him, I was like, you got to be kind of crazy to make in the NFL as a gunner, right? And he was like, absolutely.
Did you hear his answer about getting tired? He's like, yeah, some guys were like, dude, go get the oxygen. He's like, yeah.
Don't need
But
it.
you know
I'm
what?
good.
Talking to Grant Stewart, who's now with the Detroit Lions, he was like a 7th round pick, but similar background, like where it's like, I had to claw and scratch for everything, underdog, not highly recruited. A lot of those guys are wired like that because they're like, I'm not used to having this luxury stuff anyway, extra water, extra cleats and all this stuff. They're like, man, I made it here because I had to fight my way to get here, and it's not easy, or it's not hard for them to kind of keep that mindset because they just haven't been given anything. And not to say the other guys haven't earned it, but if you're not a day 1 or 2 pick, man, it's hard in the NFL. So if you make it, it's probably because you made no excuses along the way.
I think you don't even want to show that you're like can come off the field.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not even going to take water because if I come off that field, I might not get back on. So I'm just going to stay out here.
A lot of those guys think like that, and it's probably hard to shake that even if you are established.
Yeah, Mark's spot on.
It's also one of those situations you'll take a helmet to the thigh or you get a stinger in your arm. You're not showing anybody anything because you don't want to come off the field, man.
You know how it goes.
Yeah. All right, coming up in a minute, we'll take a look at all the 4-1 teams in the NFL. Where do the Colts rank? That's next. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Heading down the stretch on the show this morning, another Victory Monday as the Colts just dominate the scoreboard over the Las Vegas Raiders by a count of 40-6. And you want to talk about a tale of two second-chance quarterbacks. I know Geno Smith had that resurgence for a couple of years in Seattle, but he looks cooked right now, James. That looks tough, man.
Yes, he does not look very good so far. And honestly, if the Raiders bench him, I would not be surprised. That is the question that probably should have been asked yesterday in that post-game press conference, and I certainly think it'll be a topic in Las Vegas this week. But as for the Colts, there is no quarterback controversy. The only controversial thing is whether or not you should count a reception when you catch your own pass, I guess, for Anthony Richardson. But Daniel Jones, lights out again. He just is playing, quite honestly, the best football of his career, and he's not just game managing. He is being a game changer, in my opinion.
That'd be my headline, Kevin Bowen. Indiana Jones takes Vegas. Right there, just dominates that whole thing.
That.
Let's go get it. I think I'm settling in on it. I'm getting comfortable with Indiana Jones.
One more letter in there, one more word. Indiana Jones takes Las Vegas.
Yeah,
but yes, nice.
He's not a big Indiana Jones fan, right?
I don't think he's a fan of any nickname, honestly. It feels like he's like, this again.
It seemed he was content with Dimes, but Indiana Jones.
Well, he is like 28, so I guess it isn't like the thing he grew up watching.
My name is Daniel. Right?
But I feel like you don't get a say in your nickname. The people decide, okay?
Yeah.
The folks decide. And when you play well, just take it.
If you give yourself a nickname, that's ultra lame.
See a lot of people asking about why.
Call me Coco. What? My name is Dave.
Roof wasn't open. I literally think the roof is only open if it's 68 degrees to 72 degrees and there's 0.000% precipitation. If it's over 80, no chance.
But you were telling me it's hot if it is open.
I think for the lower level, that sun does, beat down. And if the rich people are bitching, then that roof's going to be closed.
Also, I think it has something to do with the amount of sun for a good part of the game that receivers are looking back into as well, doesn't it?
I mean, they've had the roof open on very sunny days. I mean, that's not – I don't yes, the glare's awful for the 1 o'clock games, but I think it literally has mostly – there's like a 6-degree temperature span I feel like it has to be in.
I just think that look, I know you got the retractable roof. You spend a lot of money. I get it, right? Especially in the wintertime when it gets really cold. But for the most part, I like an outdoor feel for football. I just like the outdoor feel for football.
There's no drainage system on the field, though. That's the problem. That's why there has to be such a low precipitation chance.
I do want to go back to Josh Downs for a second. That play he made on 3rd and 12, I don't know if what did Downs end up with? 5 catches, something like that? 6? I don't even know if he had a great day from a statistical standpoint. But I thought that was just the peak Josh Downs day. And, I go on Wish TV each Sunday before games, and one of the questions for this week was, how worried are you about Josh Downs' production so far? And I was like, man, I'm not worried at all. It's not like Josh Downs is doing this to himself or like he's dropping a bunch of balls out there. Tyler Warren has arrived. I think you can sum up Josh Downs' production being a little bit, less than maybe some people thought.
Yeah, and his skill set overlaps the most with Tyler when it comes to the intermediate
over the middle
routes
of the field
and
finding the underneath stuff in the zone coverage. But I went back and watched the first half last night, and I was struck by all of a sudden looking up and being like, wow, the Colts were down 3-0 with 12 minutes to go in the second quarter. That's like a third of the game is almost over, and the Colts haven't scored. And yet, on a 3rd and 12, which, what are your percentages of picking that up? Not great. You're thinking, okay, you probably don't get this. Spencer Schrader's coming out to kick a 40-something-yard field goal. But instead, Josh Downs breaks 1, 2, 3 tackles on a ball well short of the sticks, and then that seemed to ignite everything. Warren scores a few plays later, 3 and out, Shegun Alubi, pump block, and the route is on. It's just like those little plays. There were a few of those in the first half. The Grover Stewart bat that led to the Latu interception. If Grover doesn't get his paw up there, Geno Smith was adamant he had a dude open in the back of the end zone. Is that 7 right there? And then at halftime, are we talking about 14-10?
Yeah.
14-10 at halftime with the Raiders getting the ball. It's just like those little plays. I feel like when we see 40-6, we just think it was this wasn't even a snippet of a game. It's like weirdly, Colts were down at the end of the first quarter, and some dudes just stepped up and made huge plays in the second quarter, and I thought that Downs play was one of them.
8 targets. He led the team in targets yesterday and receptions, 6 for 54.
Yeah. So again, not like a career day for him. He doesn't get in the end zone, but
important day though.
The Tyler Warren spike does not happen without Josh Downs doing him.
Like that. Let's take a look at some of the other things happening in the National Football League. You guys tell me about 4-1 teams right now, where you think the Colts are at. San Francisco won Thursday night on the road against the Rams, the one team that beat the Colts. But they are 4-1, and they're missing like 80% of their starting skill players. Right now, Kyle Shanahan's got to be the coach of the year, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's playing or coaching very good football, and they just find ways to win. And they probably were due for that after a down year last year for that franchise, which perennially is usually in the playoffs.
Philadelphia Eagles are 4-1, defending Super Bowl champions, lost yesterday to the Denver Broncos, 21-17. But I was reading some stuff in Philadelphia. They're not happy with that 4-1. They feel like the Eagles aren't quite what they were a year ago.
No, their offense looks boring, and it was not effective yesterday. And it kind of came back to bite them. And, yeah, a lot of talk about A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts and their connection or lack thereof to the first 5 games of the season.
I've even seen reports about, I don't know, you've seen this too, Mark, A.J. Brown maybe going to the trade market before the season's over.
Yeah, as a fantasy football owner of A.J. Brown, I'm disgusted with what I've seen through 5 weeks. Absolutely disgusted. He rode the bench yesterday, and rightfully so.
So the Philadelphia Eagles also 4-1. How about the Tampa Bay Baker Mayfield Buccaneers, Kevin Bowen? Big road win yesterday in a shootout in Seattle on the road, 38-35. They are 4-1.
Yeah, and what you pointed out earlier, he's doing it with the banged-up wideout crew, too. I mean, that's a sign of a guy playing at an elite level. So can you imagine the start of the year saying some sort of MVP list on October 6th would look like Daniel Jones, Dak Prescott, and Baker Mayfield? I mean, I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, but those are probably the names that you would put up there. And for those that didn't stay up for it last night, boy, I tell you what, Drake May's got a little something to him. And I think Mike Vrabel can really coach, and it's not like he had great quarterback play in Tennessee. So, boy, I know saying, could the Patriots be back? Not something you want to hear if you're in this market, but that was quite impressive what they did last night.
They might have found a dude, man.
And Stephon Diggs.
And May was really good against the Colts last year in that game, so maybe Colts fans saw a little glimpse of that, but he made some big-time plays last night.
He's got a big-time receiver, too. Stephon Diggs wanted to show off against his old team. The Bills said it was personal, talking smack before the game, and he walked the walk.
Yeah, he is wired differently. Like his demeanor, just the way he kind of fidgets in interviews. You could tell he was on 1,000 if there was a level of competitiveness to kind of quantify for him, and he walked out of there feeling pretty good. You showed up at your ex-house and showed him my new boo looked good too.
First loss of the season for the Bills. They are 4-1, Kevin Bowen. I don't think we think a lot less of them after that game last night, do they?
Oh, it's over. It's over. It's wide right all over again for that franchise. No, one loss, they should be fine, right, Kevin?
I would agree. I stayed up and watched that, and you watched Josh Allen extend plays.
You always have a chance with him.
Oh my God,
he's annoyingly great.
And you better not quit it. If you're a secondary guy and your receiver's 45 yards downfield, you better not quit on that play.
We're talking about Ashton Dulin needing oxygen. If you're anybody in that secondary defending him, you got to get on the oxygen tank for real.
Like, he runs away from defenders like the 14-year-old runs away from the 9-year-olds in the backyard. Just like kind of just swatting at them. Yep. Get off me. Let me keep my eyes down the field. Let me uncork one and see if, whatever. Keon
See, he was down there.
Yeah, down there somewhere.
All right. Also, the other 4-1 team from yesterday, the Detroit Lions, seem to have gotten their groove back after an early loss. They were all over Cincinnati yesterday. 37-24. Cincinnati scored late to make it a little bit closer than it seemed. But the Lions are starting to get their swag back, James.
Yeah, I mean, they're one of the more fun teams to watch. Very high-powered on offense. And Dan Campbell, I think, one of the more personable coaches in the league, and pretty much I think if you're not in that division, you like Dan Campbell. He just seems like a really good dude.
And later on tonight, Jacksonville will try to be another 4-1 team. They will host the Kansas City Chiefs, and Liam Cohen seems to have made a difference right away for them.
Yeah, this is a big game, for the Colts, honestly. They're going to see these two teams both late in the year. But yeah, Jacksonville, I'm looking forward. They've kind of lived on the turnover luck so far. Does that continue for them? But yeah, if they win, them and the Colts 4-1.
All right, busy day today. Coming up later on at noon, Jake Query gets his chance to talk about the Colts with you, and they'll be doing that thing from noon to 3. And if you want to go see JMV today, it's Twin Peaks North over there in Castleton, so you want to check that out from 3 to 6. More Colts talk with Matt Taylor coming up at 6 p.m. tonight as well. Colts are 4-1, and they are atop the standings in the AFC. Think about that.